Hello and welcome to On the Esky. We got a massive show planned for today, running into the finals footies for both the AFL and the NRL. Plus there's a massive roundup of all the other sports going on at the moment with the AFL World Series, the car races and the UFC. I've got the boys back, Monkey Magic, aka the Monks, and Peppy over here in the corner.
Yo, yo.
How's it going?
How are we, boys?
To run through all the stuff with me. So we'll get going in a second. But yeah, how you all been?
Yeah, good. Good week here.
Yeah, pretty crazy week.
Big week of sports. Huge week of sports.
Huge week of sports.
Starting to warm up here in the nation's capital. Very excited for both grand finals this weekend and a fair bit going on elsewhere in the world. So ready to hook in and discuss.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to kick off with the AFL and the week that was. So we had Port Adelaide versus, make sure I get this right, Richmond. Yes.
Yes.
And then Geelong versus the Lions.
Yes.
We picked Port Adelaide and the Lions.
Womp, womp, womp,
As our grand final.
womp. Zero out of 2 again.
I also hate the fact that we were so right on this that we've been saying for probably 6 weeks that the teams to beat would be Geelong and Richmond.
Yeah.
You got to beat them to make it to the finals, and in that case, neither team did.
Mm-hmm.
And the two big veteran teams make it through in the end, with the big names in the sides. So, what did you guys think of the Richmond win?
Yeah, obviously 2 very different games in the way that they played out. Obviously, the Port-Richmond game was contested right until the final siren. 50,000 there at the Adelaide Oval. We thought that might have got Port Adelaide over the line, and just those old heads of Richmond just got them home.
Yeah, it looked like Adelaide faded a little bit towards the end, and Richmond had the ascendancy and got ahead.
Yeah, and a little bit of a scrappy game. The weather wasn't the best. Did make for some good viewing, I guess, in the fact that it kept it close. It wasn't clean, crisp football. That you'd like to see in a preliminary final.
They looked like a much better side with Lynch in the team.
Yeah, they did, and they like Dusty's a freak. Their midfield's good. Their backline's good.
Yeah, every time Dusty got the ball, you're just watching to see what he would do with it.
Yeah,
It was just so dynamic.
Bashar Hooley had himself a game. They'll be very hard to beat this week.
So a little story coming in after the game with Tom Lynch was doing a bit of a media interview, and someone in the crowd threw a beer all over him while he was doing it. And he's just like, come on, mate, why are you doing that? Upset some of the supporters and the fans there in the crowd. It's just a bit of a low act. Even if you don't like the bloke, you still don't throw a beer over him.
I haven't seen the footage. Was he still in his jersey?
He was still on the ground. I think he'd taken his jersey off and switched it for a polo shirt. So a Richmond polo shirt. So it was on the ground behind one of the goalposts is where the interview was taking place.
Yeah,
Is it a bit after the game or straight after?
That must have been a little bit after, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, doing his round of, post-game media responsibilities.
I suppose if you're in the clean polo shirt, you'd be a bit dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're in the jersey that you just played a game in, sweating, getting into a grand final, I suppose it's the act of doing it as well. What's the intent? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and
if someone comes up and they go, yeah, Tommy, great game, they're wearing a Tigers jersey and they pour a beer on you, yeah, maybe it's a different story.
Yeah, true.
He has the grub character, and that's kind of his persona on the field, but it doesn't mean that that's all on the field. It doesn't mean it carries over and he's that kind of bloke off it. He's probably an awesome bloke, gets around all his boys, but yeah, it's probably uncalled for.
Yeah, is what it is. You can't control what people do in the general public. If it was up to me and I had to have a beer poured over me to make the grand final, I'll take the beer.
Well, I suppose that's one thing you've got over them anyway.
Just running through some of the numbers from that game. Ollie Wines actually led the disposals for both teams in what was a very scrappy affair. He had 24, so obviously not that many to be leading the disposals for the whole game. There was only 5 blokes that had 20 or more. Dan Houston, Dusty Martin, Travis Boak and Tom Rockcliffe. And in terms of the goals, Liam Baker had himself 2. Dusty had 2. Connor Rosie has been a very improved young player for Port this year, had himself 2. And then 1 spread amongst Charlie Dixon, Xavier Dersma, Peter Adams, Scott Lysett, Tom Lynch and Jack Reebok.
Yep.
Moving on to... Yeah.
So let's talk about Geelong, Brisbane.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, Geelong end up smashing Brisbane, putting 40 on them.
Didn't see this coming.
No, not at all. And they started off well. Cameron scored early and they were contested. And through the first 2 quarters, up to halftime, it was a pretty close game. But that third quarter, Gary kind of took over. I think he kicked 3. And they just ran away with it. And then in the fourth, you thought maybe there's a bit of life in the Lions, but there was nothing really there. And, they just kept scoring. The Lions would get a nice big, momentum goal and then they'd get their clearance from midfield and then go down and score within the next 20 seconds and just can't build any momentum that way. Especially in front of the crowd, we thought they'd do better. But, I don't know. The scenes, like a little bit of the 2 Jareds kind of getting into each other. I think they had a bit of a collision and they're having a heated discussion about who had the right of way. But you could see the frustration. And I think that was around halftime of the third quarter. You could see the frustration in the 2 of them. They were frustrated and, if you're the other team seeing that, you're going to take that and you're going to be like, well, we've got these tendencies. We're on top. We're going to drive this home now. Keep them frustrated, make them more frustrated. So it's not the prettiest thing. You probably don't want to see that happening on the ground. It's maybe one of those things you sit down afterwards over a cold beer and say, mate, I've had the right away, and they work it out off the paddock, then on the paddock in front of everyone else.
I'm sure they did, but in the heat of the moment, it can get pretty fiery. The way you talk with someone on the battlefield was different to the way you talk to someone 2 hours later when you're having a beer. And it just, the experience of Geelong really showed. That was the main thing for me.
Definitely, you could see it. They just ran away with it.
Yeah,
once they had it.
Yeah, when you got guys, like Selwood, Dangerfield, Ablett. That wealth of experience.
Wanting to win for Ablett as well. Last game will be the grand final. Dangerfield's first grand final, which is kind of surprising.
Isn't it? A player of his calibre. Hats off to Paddy. I love watching him play. I love seeing him get to a grand final.
Yeah. But they got a lot of drive and momentum.
Yeah, for sure. Running through some of the numbers there. So leading the disposals was Lockie Neal, Brownlow medalist. We'll talk about that in a sec. Ahead of pretty much the Cats midfield of Duncan, Menegola, Stewart with 22, 19, 19. Dan Rich had 18. And in terms of goals, Lockie Neal as well had 2 for the Lions. Gary Rowan, the big fiery red nut, had 3 for Geelong. Gary Ablett had 2. Charlie Cameron, those 2 in the first quarter.
Yep.
Tom Hawkins kicked 2 3. So, again, his goal kicking, if he starts kicking straight in the grand final, Richmond are in trouble.
Yep.
And then 1 each for Jack Henry, Eric Hipwood, Brian Myers, Brandon Parfitt, Cam Rayner and Zach Toohey.
So let's talk a little bit about the Brownlow. So, because I want to talk a little bit about the Brisbane squad as well. So, of course, Lockie Neal.
Yeah.
Winner, congrats for winning the Brownlow.
31 votes in 17 games. So if you get 31 votes in a full season, you've done pretty well. Guys often win the Brownlow from 24, 25 votes.
Yep.
The fact that he polled 31 in a shortened season is ridiculous. Yeah. And may go down as one of the best seasons ever played by an AFL footballer.
Yeah, it was by far Brisbane's best player. So that kind of leads me into my next comment. I was... looking at how Richmond and the Geelong teams are both built and definitely got multiple big names in it. It was looking at the Lions and you could see Lockie Neal trying, his hardest to carry, not just to put the whole team on his back, but, carrying them and trying to push them through. But who's he robbing? Like, who's that other dude there?
Yeah.
They've got a young talent that probably needs to step up. But I think they're that one bloke really away from, they need that extra X factor dude that can support Lockie Neal to really push him over the edge, I feel.
For sure. Well, Zorko's handy, but he's probably not, you wouldn't have him as an elite top 20 guy in the AFL, whereas both Richmond and Geelong have got multiple guys that are that are top 20 midfielders.
Yep.
And then, like you say, the youth and the inexperience, they're going to be good players. Your Jared Lyons, your Hugh McLuggage, your Jared Berry, they're going to have good
Rayner,
players.
Hipwood.
But they're probably just not quite there. And obviously a regular season game isn't the same as the
finals,
as a prelim final or a grand final. You feel for them. We thought this, that this might have been their time. So don't give up on Brisbane. They're going to be a good side for years to come.
So I'm not giving up on Brisbane. My thoughts, this is second year.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say their window's 5 years, so they've probably got another 3. Let's say they've got another 3-4 years.
Yeah.
But, that's Lachie Neale's best years. So
yep.
Are you going to wait that time for the other guys, the other 6 or 7 guys we just mentioned, to either step into that role and be that Robin to Lachie Neale's Batman so they can possibly put him over? Or do they need to go out and buy that guy? Are they missing that one guy? Is there someone out there they could go get that could possibly put him over?
Yeah, maybe. It'll all come down to their financials, their cap room. Can they go out and spend big on another big midfielder? Yeah. I really think guys like McLuggage and Berry will go to be in that elite conversation in the next 2 years.
Well, they've got their MJ. They need their Scotty Pippen and Dennis Rodman. That's where they're at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you get yourself a LeBron, he can just carry anyone.
Maybe Lachie needs to step up a bit more.
Maybe.
Well, where do you reckon they need that leadership, their direction? Is that
I think...
is it in the backfield, the front?
I think you'd want someone as well in the midfield that could support Lachie Neale, but I'd also think they need someone that maybe can support Charlie Cameron a bit more on the forward back.
I like Eric Hipwood, but I think another key forward, that's where I'd be putting my money towards if I was in that Brisbane management.
I think Cam Rayner's definitely had moments, but his first pick 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe year 3 is his year. He really needs to have a big year next year.
Yeah, I'm not going to say disappointing. It's hard for a young forward. He's only 20 years old, 21 years old.
Grown into his body.
Yeah, for sure. And he has shown those moments where you think, oh, he's a first,
he's got talent.
overall pick. Talent. But hasn't really shown himself to be that number 1 pick in his first 2 years. Would love to see a big year 3 out of Cam Rayner.
Yep. Yeah.
The GF, who we got?
So a little bit before we jump into the GF, I just wanted to cover a bit of GWS news. It's probably the main one, the Giants.
Yeah.
A few big names. So Jeremy Cameron wants out. Mm-hmm. And I think today, is it Jai? Is that how you say first name? Jai? Mm-hmm. Caldwell, sorry. Was requested a trade, I believe. So they all want to get out. And there's 1 or 2 others, I think, as well, and that they're big names that they've got one out.
In total, 6 players, 1 out.
Yeah. So Caldwell was the first round pick for them last year.
Yeah. Yep.
So he only played 11 senior games this year.
Yeah.
His first time.
Strange that he would want out. Like when you're young, you can't really dictate terms.
Sounds like most of them want out of Sydney and back to Melbourne.
Yeah, so. I think that's a lot of it. And Jeremy Cameron, he's from a small town in South Australia. Maybe he'd like to go help out the Crows. I'm being speculative here.
It could have been a harder season this year. Like previous years, they probably could have travelled a lot more, go see mum and dad.
Yeah.
This year, not being able to go back to Melbourne and see family and friends, maybe pushed it a bit hard and a bit homesick. But yeah, GWS in a bit of a hurt with the amount of guys that went out. For sure. Amount of talent that wants to leave.
And they've also got some aging heads there in Heath Shaw. I suppose Toby Green's still in his prime, but that Phil Davis is going to be probably retiring soon. They've probably I don't want to say they've missed their window, but
I think they have. It was a year or 2 ago when they went deep in the finals.
That's what I was going to ask, because we're just talking about that 5-year window. Brisbane's into year 2, moving on to 3.
Yeah, so that's the concern. Those guys get old, and then a bunch of guys are like, "Well, we don't see it happening here. We want to go elsewhere."
They were close a couple of years ago.
Yes, they were definitely.
Don't forget they made the GF last year. They did get smoked by a red hot Richmond side.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's a bit of hangover of that too. That they're just. Again, they don't think this is the team that's going to push them over the edge, so they'll go somewhere else and see if they can tag on, jump on that Richmond or Geelong team.
Maybe.
So the two big stories leading into the grand final was one, Tom Hawkins is currently in isolation. I don't think he's got COVID. He's just had an illness, but they've put him in isolation to be sure. And then the big other thing was scalpers, because I think there's only 10,000 grand final tickets.
Is that all they've allowed?
I think in allowed at the Gabba, which I think is what they allowed in the Brisbane game last week. So 10,000 allocation. I saw a picture of one of the journos trying to buy a ticket, and he was 13,000 in the queue. So he's like, I don't like my chances. But the problem is a lot of guys bought the tickets and they've
Scalped
them, jumping them straight on Gumtree, which is both in breach of the terms and condition of the tickets and of the Gumtree's term and conditions. But people putting them up, asking big money, of course, trying to scalp tickets, and they've got 2 or they've got 3, and they're available. So it's a bit of a tough thing. You kind of expect it with limited numbers. You know, only GF in probably ever going to be in Queensland, and you know, 2 Melbourne teams. So it's probably not overly popular with the Brisbane fan base, the Queensland fan base. But I don't see many people travelling from Melbourne. So another story to follow, see how it goes and what happens. Because as the Suncorp had a bit of issues with tickets and people getting in the NRL, but we'll talk about that later.
I'll give you my 2 cents. This is episode 8 of On the Esky. It's the first time we're going political. You can't blame people for scalping. People are going to try and make a few bucks where they can make
capitalism.
Yeah, it is capitalism.
That's right. That's what it is. And it's not in the spirit of
it's a
grand
dog
finals. Yeah, but why is there only 10,000 people allowed at this game? It's a fucking roar. Like, seriously.
Queensland government for you.
Like,
I wonder what they're going to do for the state of origin.
They had 50,000 at the Adelaide Oval last week, and Adelaide, like Brisbane's in the same boat. They haven't had any COVID cases. It's
Well, Brisbane pushed very hard to get the grand final.
Yeah, they've pushed exactly. And then if this grand final was in Adelaide or Perth, there'd be 50 or 60,000 people allowed to go. It's to me the number is a joke.
Yep,
definitely.
So okay, let's talk about the final then. Let's go into previewing the final. So the 2 teams, Geelong versus Richmond. Do you want to run through their list and have a little bit of a matchup? We've talked about kind of the 3 big names for each one: the Hawkins, Dangerfield, and Ablett versus Darcy Revolt and Tom Lynch.
Yeah, you've got to talk about something for a minute because I'm just bringing those lists up.
Well, you know, the Lynch-Hawkins comparison, both big guys that kick goals. Dusty and Danger both in the midfield, you know, very comparable. Man, they're just, you know, just if you talk about those 3 alone, you're talking about 3 of the best, like some 6 of the best guys in the entire comp. Like, it's a great kind of to see that matchup and see that where that all fit and how that all plays out. But it's going to be a super competitive game. You know, all veterans, all got long-term careers, all got, you know, excellent talent.
Just finding out now, we don't actually have.
They haven't announced the list yet?
No, I haven't named their list yet. God, that's annoying that the AFL will do that. Thursday night, they normally do have their lists out. It's about
maybe keeping their cards close to the chest.
7:30 local time. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think either team's really carrying too many injuries from the last games into it. I think they're both pretty healthy at this point in the season, which is good.
So I have checked the injuries. So doesn't seem like there's anything major. Geelong have got 3 out.
Tom Hawkins is probably the only concern for them at the moment. But if he's just got the flu, hopefully he can get over that and he'll be good.
Yeah.
Maybe to help his goal kicking.
Yeah, not what you want out of your key forward, though.
No.
We can have
that does remind me that if Eric Hipwood's going to be the forward of the future for the Lions, he probably needs to kick 10,000 goals this off-season. Just go away 100 a day for 100 days.
Yep.
Go practice, get good, and then come back.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I like Eric Hipwood. He's a tall... He's a bit lean, probably, for
still young. He needs to fill out like Lynch and Hawkins have. Add a little bit of size. But not a huge amount of size, but enough.
If he smacks a gym and does some goal kicking, I could see him be a really good key forward in the future. I've got the teams from last week. Let's go off that. All right.
Yeah, sounds good.
So the back 6 of Geelong, this is tough comparing their back 6 to Richmond's back 6. Tom Stewart gets a heap of ball. Mark Blicavs is probably one of the best key backs in the AFL.
Yep.
Gladnishy's not bad. Harry Taylor gets a bunch of ball. And then they've got the likes of young Jack Henry and Lockie Henderson. Well, Henderson's actually 30, but it's not a bad back six. Blitzavs probably will go to Lynch or Revolt, and then I would think Harry Taylor picks up whoever he doesn't go to. Looking at Richmond's back six, I'll probably, if I have to score it, I'll just go Richmond having a slightly better back six, just in their experience.
Yep.
Dylan Grimes played 150 games. Bashar Hooley is one of the elite halfback flankers in terms of getting ball. He's played 207. Nick Vlaston has played 140. And then they've got some younger blokes in Noah Bolter, who's only really this year started to play in the back line. He's one of their taller backs. Maybe he gets the job of Hawkins, which will be massive for him if he has to step up and get him.
I thought Harris played pretty well on Hawkins. But then I think Geelong did a good job trying to take Harris out of the game and confuse him or mix him up with other guys on him so they could get Hawkins open.
For sure.
And they really, really opened it up for Geelong to get points. So whether they try to do something similar against Richmond.
And what a weird final series Hawkins has had. 0-5 in week one. Look,
2-3.
Couldn't kick anything. 2-3 last week, and then against Collingwood looked really good. So, which time Hawkins rocks up on Saturday, we would love to see it.
Yeah,
do you reckon that's going to make or break?
It could be the difference. Yeah.
If you kick 0 goals 5 or 5 goals straight, there's 30 points or 25 points difference there.
Yeah.
The other two in the back line there for Richmond are young Liam Baker. I like him. He's fiery. Sports a little mullet. And Nathan Broad, who's a 55 gamer. I can't split them. I can't really split. If I have to pick one, I'll pick Richmond, but I can't really split them.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be my next question, Pepe, was who you picking, who you backing to win the comp this year?
Oh, God.
Well, how about bets? What are they paying at the moment?
Okay, so I think Richmond's $1.75 and Geelong's $2.10. So the bookies have just got Richmond ahead.
Mm-hmm. I think that's probably fair.
I think it's fair based on the fact that this is the third time in 4 years Richmond's been there.
They play twice this year?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so who won those games?
Let's have a look.
Because I'd be interested to know that. Because even after everything you've said so far, I kind of lean, like you're saying, towards Richmond a little bit.
Yeah, I suppose
But I want to back Geelong. I want to back Geelong in.
You're sick of the Tigers?
It's the same thing as Melbourne Storm, the Storm and Roosters. Sick of the Tigers winning it all the time.
Well, they actually played in round 17. I remember this was a low-scoring affair at Metricon Stadium. The Tigers came out 26-point victors, 57-31.
Yep.
Low-scoring affair, obviously. And Big Tom Hawkins got pretty shut down on that night. He only had 6 touches, 1 goal.
Yeah,
Jack Revolt kicked 4. And this was only September 11, so 6 weeks ago. So based off that, you'd be thinking low-scoring game this weekend. Tigers have the advantage, and Hawkins got shut down.
Was that the only game they played this year?
I'm just scrolling back and having a look through the year. I'm seeing a lot of really good games out of Geelong. They beat Port by 60 points in the regular season. They've been good all year.
I think they've got a bit of form as well. They might have fallen off a little bit towards the end of the year. But they've got some good form now through the final series.
For sure. Back at round 9. Richmond lost to GWS earlier in the year. Geelong Brisbane. That's a good game.
Geelong
back
beat
at
Brisbane.
round 4. Did they play really early in the year?
No, I haven't got anything from round 1 through to round 4.
Yeah, so maybe it was just they played the once.
Just the once.
Just the once, yeah.
And Richmond by 25, yeah.
Oh, we're dummies. It's COVID year. No one played twice.
Yeah, okay.
True.
No one played twice. Well, that was a good minute of on the Esky coverage.
We got there in the end.
Yeah, we got there. So
So for me, I'd rather see Paddy Dangerfield and Gary Ablett go out, one to get his first win, the other one to go out a winner. I like that storyline better than the Tigers winning again.
Agree here. Sorry to my brother-in-law, Jim Lay, if you're listening, a big Tigers fan.
Yeah, I'm gonna back Geelong. So you, Peppy?
I'm going to go Richmond.
Richmond? Muggy?
I'm going Geelong.
Geelong. Ooh. We'll see how we go.
We'll see.
That's our takes for the AFL.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll move into the NRL. The first game was Storm versus Raiders. The only one to pick the Storm to win.
Monkey Magic, yeah. And did that comfortably.
Yeah.
Not that I wanted it to happen.
No. And I think we were all saying, myself as well, like we wanted to back the Raiders as far as they go. They played well against the Roosters. But,
100%.
they just got blown out in the first 20 against the Storm. They put 4 tries, I think, on them.
I think it was three tries within the first 10 minutes.
There was a bit of a story. Raiders weren't allowed into Queensland. I was going to say in the country, but Queensland trying to run themselves as their own country. Weren't allowed in the state until 2 hours before the game. So they had to fly in, get off the plane, go to the ground and get warmed up with that.
It's very difficult to prepare.
Yeah, exactly. I think they wanted to go up at least 2 days before so they had, acclimatised to the Queensland weather a bit more humid than it is here in Canberra. Didn't get that chance, went up and got smoked.
Yeah.
Maybe because they came, a little bit unprepared because of that. Couldn't do much. They'd have to train here and then, of course, go up and then have a light run beforehand. So they came out. The Storm came out 100%. All cylinders firing. Yeah. They were so good. They were so clinical. No mistakes. Just ran all over them. It took the Raiders a little bit to get back into the game. They played better in the second half, but it was over by then. Storm just held them at bay. Kotrick got 2 in the second half, but the Storm were already well in front and coasted to, 30-12 win?
30-10.
Yeah.
30-10, sorry.
Yeah, the first 10 minutes, the game was pretty much over by about 20 minutes in. Melbourne Storm, they're classy.
Yeah.
They're very classy. The week off didn't hurt them.
No.
Not at all.
Some suspect defending, I thought, on those first few tries from the
I've
Raiders.
been saying it on year. Who's the worst player in the Raiders team?
Joe Crow.
He had a shit game. I feel bad for him, but if you look at the 13, he's probably number 13 for you on that list, unfortunately.
Maybe he's better than Valemi, the other winger.
I think Valemi's young and got talent.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Defensively, he's the worst player on that side.
Yeah, he's nowhere near where he was a couple of years ago in his defence.
That Vunivalu try, my goodness, all he had to do was lay a hand on him and push him out.
Yep.
Let him straight through.
Yeah.
I think he dropped the ball a couple of times, gave away a few penalties early in that first half. He was probably definitely frustrated. They got off the bus and got smoked, so probably didn't help. Him being the captain, having to lead that. But still, he had a shocker game. Yeah, played a little bit better in the second half, but overall, I was disappointed. And I hate to say it, I've been saying it all year, but yeah, I've been saying it all year.
He's 30 years old now, Jared. Maybe the Raiders will start thinking the same way.
They could do. Well, they just lost Kotrick. Kotrick's gone to the Doggies. They'll get Bailey Simons back next year. I think they're going to resign Rapana for another 2 years. But, yeah. My biggest problem with him is he always cuts off the attack on that side of the field.
Yeah.
I think Rapana played outside him for most of the start of the year, and I didn't think he had a try in the first, 8 rounds. No. And I put that down to Jared basically cuts off all the movements.
Yeah.
Elliot Whitehead, does pass the ball along fair enough, but it gets to Jared, and Jared he takes the the safe option a lot. Yes. Being the captain, don't turn the ball over, play at high percentages. That definitely works. He's no BJ Leilua and throw the ball around, but sometimes you just.
I'd rather Croker than Leilua.
Yeah, but occasionally you got to let the ball go and give your outside winger, give someone like Rapana a chance to make a play. Versus just take the soft option or the safe option, all the time.
Agreed.
That's why they moved Rapana on the other side, hooked him up with Kotrick so they could get a bit more attacking power, and that's where they scored most of their tries was down that side.
Thoughts on Rapana in the centres?
I didn't think he was too bad. I thought that flick pass he threw to Kotrick to score. If he can do that every week, I'd be happy.
Yeah, I thought he looked nice in the centres. Again, maybe it was more of a function of he might be more useful over there rather than being a true.
He wasn't too bad as when he played fullback after they I think Whiten got hurt, or when he got suspended, they moved Rapana to 1, and he played pretty well. Like, he's got his good positional movement, he's got ability. I think he's a good centre. Like, he's a better centre than Croker is.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah,
like we said last week, Croker's probably owning that side for his kicking and his leadership.
yeah, definitely. His leadership definitely helps, but it didn't help enough in this game. Compare him to Cameron. You know, you could see Cameron firing all the boys up before the game, get him in the huddle. You know, they were ready to go to war for Cameron by the looks of it. And I'm not sure if Jared's got that kind of pull or that swing. He's no immortal like Cameron is.
No. Should we talk about this Melbourne Storm side? Because every year, you know, you have Cronk leave and then Slater retire and then Cameron's getting old and you think they're going to drop off. They're going to drop off.
Well, next year...
They're going to drop off.
Well, you know, there's a talk about Cameron retiring. He very much looked like he was retiring at Suncorp.
Yes.
Carried off the field.
Got carried off the field. You know, did a big kind of lap of honour when he went off with about 10 to go. Still hasn't said he's retiring.
No.
But a lot of alluding to the fact that could have been his last game at Suncorp. Mm-hmm. So they could definitely be a very different team next year without him. But, you know, they've still got Munster there.
They're good. Pappenhausen's developing really nicely.
And Billy Slater's been helping him. He put it out and said, you know, I haven't been trying to take over and push him and say, you know, this is exactly what I do it. He's just, I'm giving him solid advice and saying, work on these things and you'll get better. And he has. Like, he's been just one of the better fullbacks.
Something about the system down there. Like, guys like Justin Olam, if you asked me who he was 12 months ago, I would have said he's developed into probably a top 10, if not better, centre this year.
It's also very clear when those guys at Melbourne then go elsewhere and they're garbage.
Yeah.
You can tell, like, you know, the system, the support system and all that they put in place there must really get the best out of them. The coaching staff, they're awesome. That's why they're there every year competing. That's why they're in yet another grand final to keep, what is it now, 6 in a row, either Melbourne or Roosters have been in the final?
Yeah, we looked at it the other day, didn't we?
I think it's since 2014.
Which was South Canterbury.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we got rid of one of them at least.
Yeah, we got rid of one, but yeah, Melbourne's still in there. Be interested to see how they go against Penrith.
Which leads us to the second preliminary final. A much better viewing game for the neutral viewer. Penrith obviously coming out winners 20-16 against South Sydney Rabbitohs. This was a good game to watch. Both teams got in early with tries to Alex Johnson and Brian To'o, and then a little bit of a sort of defensive battle throughout from there.
What was the final score?
20-16, Penrith coming out.
I thought it was close, but everything I saw was Penrith looked in control.
Yeah, I agree. You can't rule out South with that attacking ability that they've had this year. Nathan Cleary played a really good game, as did his number 6, Jerome Luai. And the Penrith forward pack,
it's good.
They're really good. Yeah, James Fisher-Harris, Regan Campbell-Gillard,
Tamo.
Tamo.
Yeah.
Elliot Yeo. They all really work hard.
So is that 17 games in a row from grand final? Would be 18.
Yes. So they've equaled Canterbury Bulldogs record from 2004 for most wins in a row. And with that, I don't like comparing eras, but in today's NRL and considering the year that we've had, that's a pretty astonishing feat, really. Yeah.
Well, I give Melbourne also big props for playing 5 months in Queensland. Like, they've been away from Melbourne, been away from family and friends for a very, very long time.
Yeah, for sure.
It's obviously brought the team together very strongly, and they made the grand final. But I've been saying it, Penrith are built to choke. I think this could be the week.
The bookies agree with you. I think Melbourne Storm's about $1.75 with Penrith out there at about $2.15.
Well, besides Tamo, has anyone played a grand final on Penrith team?
That's a great question.
I don't think so.
Well, Penrith haven't made the grand final since 2004. Scott Sattler, that was that year.
So no one from that team.
So that's 16 years ago. Obviously, no one was there. Let's have a look at their list and we'll work that out. So James Tarmow obviously played with the Cowboys in 2015, and I stuffed up 2 minutes ago because we said 2014 was the last year that the
20
Storm.
Oh, you are right.
It was
it's been 5 years.
It's been 5 years. 15 was
That was all Queensland final. Yep.
Yes. So let's just have a look at their list. I think you're right. I don't think any of them would have played in the grand final, and not that many of them have played Origin football, which is pretty astounding considering the year that they've had.
Yeah.
So let's go through that list. Dylan Edwards, Josh Mansour he's played Origin but hasn't played a grand final. No. Brian To'o, he's really come out this year. Tyrone May, Stephen Crichton, who actually made Dally M Centre of the Year, so he's had a really good year. Jerome Luai, Nathan Cleary, Elliot Yeo, Kurt Capewell, Liam Martin, James Fisher Harris, Appy Coruscant. Did he ever play one at Manly?
I don't think so. I think the last time Manly played was
too long ago.
No, because they had who'd they have playing hooker? They had it wasn't him. I know that much. I remember.
I think you're right. I think
he's only in the last couple of years he played for Manly.
I think Tarmau's the only one, and then their bench of Naden, Leota, Tetavano, and Kenny. I think you're right. I think one of these guys has played a grand final, and also we can work it out. Mansour, Cleary, Tarmau have played Origin. They've got 3 guys that have played Origin.
Yep,
which is astounding. The fact that they've won that many games. The experience here in big games. They're going to have 40,000 there. They're going to be half capacity.
That's my thoughts. That's what I'm thinking. I think Cleary's definitely been up playing Unreal, and he's definitely been running that side around Unreal as well this year. But you come into Melbourne and you look at that Melbourne team. They played in a grand final 2 years ago.
Yep. Yeah, they actually got quite badly beaten by the Roosters that year. But
yep.
Yeah, they've been there. A lot of these guys have played in grand finals. A lot of their side would have played Origins.
Yep.
Maybe we'll have a little look at their expected side for this weekend. So Pappenhausen obviously hasn't played a grand final or Origin, but he's looking really good. Vunivalu and Addo Carr, great wingers. Addo Carr's played Origin.
Would have played in that grand final.
Yep. Branko Lee, Justin Olam, they'll be going into their first grand finals.
Yep.
Cameron Munster's obviously played Origin.
And played in a grand
final. Jerome Hughes has obviously developed a lot this year. He wouldn't have played either. No. Then they've got Nelson Asafa Solomono, Felice Kafusi, and Jesse Bromwich. None of those... actually, no.
They would have played in the grand final 2 years ago.
Kafusi and Bromwich would have.
Yep.
And maybe Asafa Solomono might have been there.
As well, yeah.
And on top of that, both those guys have played... or I think all of them have played for New Zealand.
Yep.
And then in the forward line, that was Kenneth Bromwich, Jesse Bromwich at 8, Cameron Smith and Christian Welch. So out of those guys, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that have definitely played Origin.
Possibly 5, I think.
And then 2.
Oh, the Origin, yeah.
And then 2 or 3 that have played for their country. And then in the grand final from a few years ago, Vunivalu would have been there, Addo Carr would have been there, Munster would have been there. I think their whole back row was there, 5. Jesse Bromwich, 6. Cameron Smith. They've got 7 potentially guys that have played. Oh, Dale Finucane as well off the bench.
Bench, yep.
So half their team's played in the grand final.
Yep. Yeah, and they, in a grand final they got beaten in, so you get back there, a bit of revenge.
Bit of fire in the belly, yeah. So you got 8 guys going up against 1 that have got grand final experience, and possibly 8 or 9 rep players going up against 3.
Yep. So we talked a lot about experience. How do you think they compare team-wise?
In terms of experience?
Well, we just talked about experience. So I think we've clearly said that Storm will go in with more experience.
Yes.
So, but talent-wise and the current way they're playing, and what do you think comparing them?
You can't argue with 17 games on the trot, can you?
Yeah. But if I run through the list, if I go, I'd pick Cameron over Coruscant.
Yep.
I'd probably pick Cleary over the Storm 7 because I can't name it.
Jerome Hughes, yes.
But I'd
agree with you.
I'd pick Munster over
Luai. And Luai's had a great year.
He has had a
great year, but I don't think he's quite Cameron Munster.
No.
So that's 2-1 to the Storm.
Yeah. Centres, you probably go maybe 1-1. Penrith, Crichton for Penrith.
Yeah, Crichton's been unreal. Justin Olam's been pretty good for Melbourne. Yeah, maybe split it.
I'd probably pick the back three for Melbourne.
Yeah, Pappenhausen, Addo-Carr, Vunivalu, pretty hard to go against. No disrespect to To'o, who's been really good.
Yeah.
Dylan Edwards, who's
also been good.
Yeah.
And Mansour's been Mansour this year.
Yeah.
But I'd still, talent-wise and ability-wise, I'd pick, Addo-Carr and Vunivalu over those two.
Yeah, I'd go 3-zip Melbourne there.
Yeah.
And then forward pack-wise, maybe that's the edge you give to Penrith.
Yeah,
But you still, the Bromwich brothers, and you've got
Kafusi, yes, that's
Finucane.
That's Sofa Solomona.
Yeah.
They got some size.
So did Penrith. So they're forward. I think it's going to be a great forward pack battle. If I'm looking for X factor who's going to score a try to win the game at the end, probably looking at Melbourne.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Someone that can bust it and take it 80 metres.
I think
Pappenhausen, Addo-Carr.
Yeah, you're backing that side with Addo-Carr.
Yeah.
I think they were saying in that Raiders game that Melbourne have scored the most tries this year from their own half.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise.
Yeah.
They got speed to burn back there.
Definitely. So they've got those weapons. So, man, I think this could be a blowout. I reckon it's
Blowout.
Yeah, I think Melbourne could roll over them.
Well,
I reckon if they start strong, maybe they score. If they get 2, possibly 3 early, I think Penrith maybe falls in a heap. They'll have Tamo there maybe to bring him out and give him experience, but all the young boys, they might just fall in a heap and just lose it, and then Storm could run away with it, score 30, maybe even 40. Like, that's my concern with Penrith. You've been on such a huge high. You've won 17 straight. Melbourne start off strong like they did against the Raiders. I think they're cooked.
yeah. And I hope it's not a blowout. And I don't think it will be a blowout, but I'll put it this way. Could you see Penrith belting Melbourne?
No.
Could you see Melbourne belting Penrith? Yes. And I'll agree with you 100% there. Given that in-depth analysis, who are we going? I think the Storm.
I hate to do it, but we're going to pick the fucking Storm.
And hopefully we're giving a kiss of death, because generally throughout the final series in both codes, whoever we tip loses.
Yeah. Well, our NFL tips, if anything, to go by last week, they were pretty garbage. So
That was a massive upset. We'll get to that later, but big upset round. Monkey, can you see Penrith winning this game?
I don't think I can. I don't think it's going to be the blowout. But yeah, I can't get past Addo-Carr on that side of the field. Saying that, back in round 6, Penrith did beat the Storm 21-14. So
Close.
I know it was a long time ago, but
yeah, I could see the scoreline being like that, like 26-20, or in that kind of range, or like the Penrith game last week, the 2016 or 2014.
Mate, well, maybe that's something we need to have a look at. Is overs unders. I don't see it being really high scoring game.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very defensive on Penrith's behalf.
Yeah.
So if Penrith stay in
they can hold out.
If Penrith stay in it and it's close, I think it could be that 2016 kind of scoreline going either way. If Melbourne runs away with it, I think they could run away with it, and it could be like a 30-10 game, 30-12 game.
For sure.
I could see that definitely happening.
Definitely after last week.
What else happened this week in the National Rugby League? There was the Dally M's.
The Dally M, and who's been saying all year he's the best player in the comp? This bloke. This bloke right here.
I think a few weeks ago I said, maybe he's top 3, but yeah.
No, I did listen back on that podcast, and
he was like, you can't go
Sean
past the
did
Esky.
say that he was best player in the NRL, and
he's got the medal to show it.
Yeah.
He does.
I think Cleary's maybe a little bit hard done by in this. He was close second, I think, overall.
I think the problem with Cleary is his teammates took points off him.
Yeah, yes. They
Luai had an awesome year.
Yeah.
But
in comparison, Jack was by far the best player at the Raiders, and if you're going to give someone votes, it'd be Jack.
Yeah.
He kept him in games. He won them games. Like, he's been unreal.
Yeah, well, I think, I'm not going to say single-handedly, but that Roosters game, he was unreal. A few of the games towards the end of the year where they needed to get the points, and he was
against the Sharks. He was unreal.
Yeah, against the Sharks.
Brought him back into it.
Yeah, good on him.
Scored a lot of tries for the Raiders as well, which probably helps
for
his
a
case.
6. Monks, can you look up that?
How many tries he scored?
Yeah, just his stats for the year, because I think we have alluded to it before. His ball running ability for a 6 is freakish. He's a big 6.
Big 6.
He's broad. He's strong. And
Ricky Stewart likes that though, because he had Blake Austin there. He does like a big 6 that can run and tackle.
Well, even back in the day, Laurie, he was a pretty big 6 and pretty strong. But yeah, he in my eyes, I know it was very close, well deserved. Maybe Cleary a little bit stiff, but I think Jack was by far and away the best player on the Canberra Raiders this year and a deserved Dally M winner.
Yeah. So here's a question for you: do you play the Dally M winner in the centres if you're in Origin, or do you play him at 6?
That's a great question, isn't it?
Cleary and Whiten and 7 and 6. Like, how can you go past that?
Yeah. And we're talking about a little bit last week. Kiri has been named in the Blues squad.
Be in the squad, definitely.
Yeah, what do you do? But is it more useful to have Kiri and Whiten on the field at the same time?
Or could you put Whiten and then get another one of the centres in? Get maybe like someone like Crichton.
I think so.
Could you get someone like him in the squad and play him in the centres?
All I know
get more size. Like, you get more size that way.
All I know is the Blues are winning this year 3-0.
Well, we'll see. But I think it'll be competitive. Brisbane, Queensland will still have a good half partnership.
Yes,
they'll be competitive, but
possibly better than the Blues in terms of the halves. Just everywhere else, you just have to score each position towards the New South Wales Blues. Monks, did you get any stats there on Jack Whiten's season? He must have scored double-digit tries.
Yeah, he scored 13 tries.
Yeah, from 6. Like, that's unreal. Yeah. And have you got
who was top try scorer as a comparison? They scored
I think Alex Johnson scored 20.
Yeah,
from the top of my head.
Yeah, 23 to Alex Johnson.
23. That's a big year, actually.
Yeah.
So I had Alex Johnson 23, Kyle Felt 19.
Yep.
David Nofaluma 17, Josh Adokar 16, Sione Katoa 16.
Yep. And then Whiten next at 13, or
I think there's probably a few in that range.
But so he was
still for a 6. That's unreal.
He's probably top 12 try scorers.
Well, two of those guys, so Nofaluma and Adokar, were wingers, Dally M wingers. Gutherson was the fullback of the year. We mentioned one of the centres was Crichton. Tony Staggs got the other.
Brisbane.
The only good player playing for Brisbane at the moment. Whiting was 6. 7 was Nathan Cleary. Parley got prop with Jason Fisher-Harris, who's at Penrith. James Fisher-Harris, sorry.
Yeah.
Cameron Smith, of course, got Hooker of the Year. Second row was Villamar. How do you say it? The Penrith guy.
Kickout.
Kickout. I was trying to get his first name.
Viliami,
Kickout. And Harris from the Warriors was the other second rower.
Yeah, totally.
And Yo was the lock of the year.
Yeah.
So the Penrith forward pack getting...
Yeah, Penrith got a few nods there.
Yeah, 3 guys in the forward pack.
Out of that team of the year, there's a lot of guys that haven't been mentioned before in terms of Dally M recognition, Origin recognition.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of guys coming through. Your James Fisher-Harris's, your Tohu Harris's, Elliot Yo, I don't think has played Origin or been in a team of the year. Crichton and Staggs. Even Gutherson, who's obviously shown that he can play over the last few years. I don't think he's played Origin or been in that side.
Yeah, he's been picked in the larger squad as well, so he's in that squad now too.
Exciting time for rugby league. A lot of young guys.
A lot of talent coming through.
Yeah,
really good.
and with the changing
More
of the guard,
stars.
I suppose in terms of, you know, Slater and Cronk and possibly Smith going and some of the old New South Wales heads like Paul Gallen over the last few years, it's nice to see all these young, talented guys coming through.
Well, New South Wales definitely needed it. They've spent a decade trying to find guys to compete with Queensland, and now they've got a lot of more talent coming through. The whole league's got more talent.
Yep.
Which could be the caveat for more teams. So that's also a possibility. Brisbane Bombers out there always, and another team maybe on South Coast or over in Penrith or whatever.
Can I just commend you on the use of the word caveat there? That is nice. That's a nice word.
We're sophisticated.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And one beer to get into the sophisticated words.
Moving on.
So coach of the year was Ivan Cleary, and rookie of the year was Grant, the hooker from West
Harry
Tigers.
Grant, yeah. All deserved, I think. All deserved.
Well deserved. So
Just going back to those stats on the tries, just a fun little fact for your Dragon supporters out here. Lomax, Ravalawa and Dufty.
Yeah, they were 13?
All on 13.
Yeah.
9, 10 and 12 in the ladder of try scorers.
Or 9, 10 and 11. Because someone else must have been on there on 13.
Oh, wait, what did I say? I said 9, 10 and 12. Did I say 12?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, so the number 11 was
White.
Vunivalu. Yeah.
But I suppose you could say more accurately they're all equal ninth.
They are all equal ninth. It's on games played.
Maybe they watch the tries and they grade them on who scored the better tries.
Maybe.
Yeah, well, as a tragic Dragon fan here, our backline was good this year, I thought, especially those three guys.
Well, interesting you bring up the Dragons backline.
Is that a segue?
Because there's
a segue?
There's a bit of talk about Greg Bird, not Greg Bird. Jack Bird.
Yes.
So Greg Bird's long retired.
Yeah.
Jack Bird.
Good fighter. Maybe we get him in there just to fire the boys up and get a bit of oomph into him.
Loves a good nose candy.
Yeah.
So there's Brisbane won, Bird gone.
Yep.
Bird wanted to go to the Dragons.
Yep.
Dragons, I think, were keen to have him, fit him in somewhere in that back line. Maybe compete with Norman, maybe move Norman to 7 and he could be 6, then Hunt's at 9. But Brisbane kind of gave him the cold shoulder. They were trying to discuss, I think his contract's about 900 and something K, so it's big money.
Yep.
So Brisbane don't want to foot the whole bill. I think Dragons offered we'll pay 250 of that. Brisbane, I don't think we're overly impressed, so they said, no, we don't want it.
Look elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, they didn't say anything. They gave him the cold shoulder, and a week later, Anthony Griffin was like, well, fuck him. we don't really need it. You paid him too much. He's your problem.
Yeah.
So I think the doggies, are looking at him as well. But I don't like Brisbane's chances of getting much of a discount on the money they're going to owe him.
What's going on with him? Because a few years ago at Cronulla, he was like the toast of the young players in the NRL.
He left Cronulla, and I think he had a shoulder injury, which wasn't treated real well while he was Cronulla, so he needed a bit of surgery when he first got to Brisbane. Then he played, Brisbane have had their struggles, and he kind of was fallen into that mould as well. He had a chest injury. He had to wear that massive chest guard. So he had the sternum injury. And this year he blew his ACL out like 2 days before the season started.
So injuries really got the better of him.
Really derailed his season. So it's whether he can get healthy and club could
poor bloke.
use him. So, yeah.
Yeah, because a few years ago at Cronulla, he was tearing it up, whether he was playing six or in the centres. And obviously a big name signing for Brisbane a couple of years ago. They have been spending $900,000 a year on him. It's just goes to show how brutal this game of rugby league is.
Yeah.
And
I've just freak injuries at training as well.
And regardless
shit happens, definitely.
Regardless of where he goes, would love to see him fighting fit and tearing it up for whichever club he ends up at.
Which doesn't sound like the Dragons. He wanted to go Dragons, but it doesn't sound like it.
I don't think we need to spend money in the back line, Monks.
I think was he a Dragons junior that then
Yeah, no, I feel like he was, yeah. I think
that sounds about right.
I think he was a Dragons junior.
Alrighty. Finish off the NRL and we'll move into the Yank sports. We'll start with the NFL. Do you want to start with the week of games? Or we could talk about all the Rona. There's a lot of Rona.
I need to grab a beer. Can you talk about the Rona? Because I am sick to death of hearing about it. I'll be back in 30 seconds.
Yeah. I'll run through it real quick.
Please discuss.
While you run off and get some beers.
So what's happening with the Rona?
So leading into last week's games, the Pats had more Rona. I think they had one of their coaching staff test positive, and then a day later they had another 3 players test positive. One of those I think was someone, I can't remember who actually, on the offensive line, one of the starters on the offensive line. So he missed the game against Denver. For the Broncos, one of their the RB coach, tested positive. He, I think it was through a family member, and he knew he was feeling unwell, so he self-isolated. So in the end, none of the Broncos players had any problems. The Falcons had some Rona, and I think they closed their facility down, but they were okay, and they were then cleared or positive. And then the Raiders have Rona. As of today, I think they've had 2 players, and Trent Brown, their right tackle, is on the COVID list. because he's got the Rona. So the league's still struggling with the Rona all over the place. Just don't cancel the season, please.
Yeah, that's scary. Well, where do you go from here? Like, we're too far out of the season, and it seems pretty unlikely that any sort of bubble will happen.
No bubble's going to work in the NFL, unfortunately. I think they've tried to create like facility bubbles where it's just the players and the groups together, but I think it's working to a point. Like the numbers have been low. It's usually, a team of 55 with probably 40 odd support staff. Say there's 100 people in the building at all times. They get 1 or 2 cases. It's localized to say 4 or 5 teams. They're doing enough at this point to say that they're okay. They can keep going. It'd be more a problem if you lost like 20 blokes, or if you're 22, you lost 10 starters. Then there'd be big concerns.
True.
I think it'll become more of an issue as the season goes on, and they have to then start thinking, we've got no buys left. We can't reschedule games. Start thinking about forfeits and those sorts of stuff. That's when it becomes a real challenge. At the moment, numbers are low, not great. It's okay, but hopefully it can go better going forward.
Yep. I suppose NFL as a sport is pretty lucky in the fact that your positional players are very, in a way, quarantined in themselves, like training. Besides full team training, you're in small groups all the time.
Yeah, you're in your position groups, so working with, say, 1 or 2 coaches in your area. So yes, it's maybe small groups of 6 or 7, 8 or 9, depending on the position group. But yeah. So again, something to watch, something to look at, especially the track for your fantasy team. Luckily, I don't think any. Besides Cam is probably the biggest name. I don't think anyone like major has ended up on the list. Trent Brown today is probably another kind of big name, especially as a starter or as a right tackle.
Big name, obviously no fantasy value. You also think for these offensive lineman guys, whether they take a little bit longer to recover from it. From what I've heard, the bigger guys do tend to struggle a little bit. Obviously, this is coming from a vast medical background.
Of nothing.
But from what I've read, at least, I saw the Raiders have quarantined their whole offensive line.
Well, Trent Brown got it, so like Monkey was saying, the position group, so the whole position group's quarantine got to get tested, so they'll have to test negative before they can take the field on
it's kind
Sunday,
of a strange sport in that, like, if you're a right tackle, you probably don't see that much of the other team's right cornerback. You know what I mean? Yeah. And vice versa. So I suppose the concerning thing is the number of guys on each team. It could obviously spread like wildfire.
Yeah, that's the concern. If you lose like 10, 20 guys, then then you're in trouble.
Please, dear Lord, baby Jesus, Allah, Buddha, Superman, all of you, please. We really love the NFL, and we don't need to see any more of this shit year take any more victims. But yeah, hopefully all the boys that have come down with it get better, and there isn't too much further spread throughout the league. Obviously, something to keep an eye on.
Yep. All right, James, let's run through the games. So, no toilet bowl last week?
No toilet bowl?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, there was a toilet bowl, but it was on...
It was Sunday. It was a Sunday toilet bowl.
Sunday toilet bowl.
Yeah.
So just at the top of the list, we had Tennessee Titans at home beating out Houston in overtime.
Excellent game.
Yeah, great game.
Yeah, Houston, I've definitely taken on a more explosive offensive kind of team with the old head coach gone. New play calling, opened it up a little bit. Deshaun letting it rip. Threw a huge, I think, 53-yarder to Will Fuller, big play.
Yeah, big arm.
But then the Titans, Derrick Henry, man among boys, 94-yard touchdown.
Yep.
212 yards on the day.
Yeah,
huge game.
Third consecutive season with a 200-yard game. I think
it's him and Barry Sanders,
LaDainian Tomlinson,
and Jim Brown.
Yeah,
maybe.
It was a pretty explosive club.
Yeah, it's like them four have 3 200 rushing games in their careers.
Yeah.
So again, a crazy stat, and he's still real young. He's probably got 3 or 4 great years in him left. So
I think I was reading I think in the last 3 years, there's been 6 games where a running back's gone for over 200, and Derek has 3 of those.
Yeah.
So pretty outstanding. The Titans are 5-0.
Man,
Could they?
Tannehill's like an MVP
Yeah,
consideration. He's been unreal.
Yeah.
They've got good receivers. They lost their right tackle. Right tackle, left tackle.
Taylor Lewin.
Taylor Lewin, yeah, he's gone for the year.
ACL.
Yeah. Huge loss for them.
That is, he's been really good for them for the last few years.
The rest of their offensive line is still good.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense, sneaky good.
Yeah, sneaky good. Obviously gave up 36
to Houston, but Houston got weapons.
On the weekend. Could they win this Super Bowl?
Well, they went to the AFC Championship last year.
Yeah,
and
everyone
look as good.
Everyone last
better.
year was like, nah.
They snuck in there.
Yeah, that's right. They know who they beat. The Patriots. Who they beat? The Ravens. They're actually a legitimate team, and everyone sort of writes them off. I definitely, the way I've seen the AFC this year has been Kansas City, Baltimore, and I haven't really considered anyone else. Maybe the Titans need to come into that conversation.
Yeah, I definitely think so, and it's pretty evident if you saw Deshaun Watson when they did the coin toss for overtime. He lost the coin toss in year. It was like, we've like the coin toss was if you won that, you won that. He thought
that's what he thought. And
it gave us a chance, but if they won, they win the game. There's
what
no
about
way
that body language for your defense?
Yeah.
Your defense is watching that.
Confidence.
Oh, yeah. And to think that your quarterback thinks, the coin toss is deciding the game. No confidence in the defense whatsoever to stop Henry and Tannehill. Yeah. And the play that won a screen pass to a guy that doesn't really bother the stat keeper in terms of receiving yards very often and just took it to the house.
Yep.
True. Well, let me put this to you. So I'm just looking at Tennessee's schedule. So they've beaten the Broncos.
Yep.
They've beaten the Jaguars.
Yep.
They've beaten the Vikings.
Yep.
Had a bye week 4 and then beaten the Bills. And then Texas.
Bills and Houston. Bills was a big win for them. I thought Bills were really good.
Big wins. But is that...
Not a huge... The first 3, not great.
Is that a schedule... Like, does that reflect...
They haven't beaten anyone that I would think could win this year. And the Bills aren't. Yeah, the Bills aren't a bad team, but I don't see them winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we'll come back and talk about the Bills and the Allen struggles. But
maybe we still need to see the Titans against your Kansas Cities, your Baltimores.
So we'll get into more details as well next week. So they've got the Steelers, and then after that they've got.
That's great.
That's a huge game for them.
Matchup.
Huge game for them. Then they've got the Bengals, then the Bears, then the Colts, then the Ravens, then the Colts again, then the Browns. Jaguars, Lions. So
say they win most of the games. That Ravens game's probably the one that's the good indicator.
Well, yeah, Ravens, but they Colts twice, Bears.
Does that have to be one of the easiest schedules in this NFL at the moment?
Based on the teams, I'd say so. We'll talk when we get to the Colts. We'll talk about the Colts.
They do have the Packers.
There's a few
16, but
there's a few bogey games there for the Titans that they'll really need to prove themselves.
Yeah.
But they from 5-0, you'd think they win 11, 12 games this year. Easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yep. Next one.
So after that, we had Indianapolis at home beating out Cincinnati, 31-27.
So did you see Cincinnati? I think had a 20-point lead in this game.
Yeah, and they blew it. And Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
He looks like a quarterback, man.
He looks good.
I know we talked about it last week, but they've done well with their first round pick there.
So we talked a little bit about the Colts last week.
And their defense.
And are they for real? And I'd say after watching this game, I'm going to go with a solid maybe not.
Yeah.
I think they shouldn't be given 20-point starts to the Bengals.
No, I don't
if they're going to be a playoff team.
No. And we... I think 2 weeks ago we were really thinking, maybe the Colts are something to take serious.
They've got a good record. They've won games, but
they're 4-2. They're probably going to play playoff football. Do you see them beating out the guys that we're just talking about?
No.
The Ravens, Chiefs.
I know Pappy
Titans,
loves Rivers. He definitely helped bring him back into this game.
He's playing better.
He's playing better, but I don't see them going over the top.
No.
They shouldn't be given 20-point starts to the Bengals.
No, especially with that defense that
supposedly
was good. The return of AJ Green in this game, something to consider.
10 targets, I think.
Yeah.
Or over 10 targets. He a lot of ball thrown his way. T. Higgins, I think, had 2 really long touchdowns.
Yeah. He had 125 yards on the game. he might be a sneaky receiver to watch in the future.
Had a big career at LSU.
Yep.
So yeah, he's definitely got talent. I think he's got that ability that they're looking for. Definitely relegated John Ross off the top three. So
Yeah, well, John Ross didn't have a reception, didn't have a target.
I don't think he's getting many snaps at the moment.
No. Going back to that AJ Green, he had 11 targets, so good to see the big fella back. 8 catches for 96 yards.
Exactly what Joe Burrow needs.
Yeah. I think the only criticism, I suppose, of Burrow, he threw 300 yards, couldn't find anyone in the end zone. But loving to see his first 6 weeks in the NFL, and he's only going to get better and better.
Yeah. Mixon had a good game, and I think he left in the third quarter.
Yes.
But he came back, or he left just before halftime and came back late in the third.
I'm
struggling
playing against him this week in fantasy, and I think he's got a Q next to his name, but I think he's playing.
Yeah, I think he's playing, but a little bit banged up at the moment. Bengals need him healthy if they want to get a win.
Yeah, don't they? And in that division, it's a very tough division this year.
Right,
What you got there, Max?
Yeah, moving on. So we had Atlanta away beating out Minnesota.
We picked
40 to 23.
Falcons finally had a win.
we said, fire your coach, you win a game. That's generally the rule.
Yeah. Well, I think we also say
convincingly.
that they were the best team that didn't have a win.
Yeah, these are the best two teams. That was the best team without a win, and we said I think the week before the Vikings were one of the best teams as a 1-5 record. But how many picks did Cousins throw in this game?
3.
I think he's now tying Wentz.
Yeah, I think you're right. He's been bad, and considering the fact that they've been able to run the football, Davin obviously out this game with an injury, but beforehand they've really been.
Justin Jefferson's really come on strong for him. Like they've got ability there. It's just like, man. It all falls with their defense hasn't been great, but Cousins, man.
In a losing game, how good was Justin Jefferson?
Oh, excellent.
I think someone here might have him on his team.
So Cousins actually beating out Wentz with 10 interceptions to 9.
Man.
Yeah.
What are they? They're 1-5 now, aren't they? Vikings?
Yeah, both those sides, 1-5. We can probably strike them out, both for playoff football.
I'm thinking more draft pick because you could move Cousins and Trevor Lawrence there. Might be a sneaky good play.
I don't think they're that bad that they're going to tank for Trevor.
Well, both these teams, though, at the moment, 1-5, they're probably not going to tank for Trevor, but, man, maybe put Trevor on that Falcons team as well, like move on Matty Ice.
Yeah, Matty, I think he's still got a few good years left in him.
I think they both got good years in them, but I don't think either's winning you the Super Bowl at this point in their careers.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I think Matty Ryan doesn't get the recognition that he deserves in this league often.
Yep.
This is his numbers from the weekend: 30 of 40, 371 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks.
He's good.
Do you see him winning a Super Bowl? No, probably not.
Maybe if you could build an awesome defense on the other side that he can support him, kind of like
which the Falcons never have.
Which the Falcons never have. So,
not forgetting, Cousins did throw 3 touchdowns to offset his 3 picks. If he can look after that football, maybe it's a different story.
Yep. Maybe we might have another 30 for 30 on our hands.
oh my God.
He'll have to start throwing a few more to the other team.
Might do.
I think we spoke about this, didn't we? I think that's the second most picks ever in an NFL season.
In an NFL season, yep.
The most was like 4, like it was a long way in front.
Yeah. Because usually you don't let a guy play for that long. You're just like, we're sitting you down.
Yep. All right, so moving on after that, we had Denver beating out New England.
Who said the kicker could beat the Broncos? Boo, you baby.
Massive win. Credit where credit's due.
Mick Money.
Oh, yeah.
All field goals. Kick 2 from over 50.
Yep.
They scored, I think, on every possession. They scored on every possession in the first half, and I think the first 2 after the half. All field goals, of course.
Yes.
Locke, not the greatest stats in the world. His ball placement was good. The receivers didn't catch. They were well covered, and they didn't make enough awesome grabs. At least one dropped in the end zone. for him. But he threw 2 late picks, one was a miscommunication, one was him trying to force it a little bit. But, Denver's defense, they're good.
Yeah,
They stop the run. I've said they've been sneaky good. Their secondary's been playing better. After I bagged Jackson and Simmons a couple of weeks ago that they need to do better, they have been playing better.
They listened to the podcast and they thought, we're going to step up our game this weekend.
But interesting, and Vic kind of Fangio came after Cam in this. They blitzed on 70% of snaps.
Really? Yeah.
So at least bringing one guy. So that was Alex Johnson for most of it. But then also bringing someone else they could when they needed to generate pressure. And that really unsettled Cam, who didn't have a great day. I think Edelman only had like 1 catch.
Yeah. I've got him in fantasy. He threw for more yards than he caught.
Yes. It was. They played really, really good defense.
Yeah, and the Pats couldn't get the running game going whatsoever.
Tony Michel was on the COVID list, so he didn't play.
Correct. So they went in there with Damian Harris, Rex Burkhead, James White.
Damian Harris doesn't look bad. Is
No, he doesn't. Yeah,
third round pick, I think, from last year.
He's coming through for sure. James White got a lot of ball through the air, a la the Tom Brady days. That, you know what concerns me at the Pats? They're receivers.
Yes.
They're like Edelman's getting on.
And Harry hasn't really hasn't picked up where you'd think for a high pick.
Indeed. Their starting tight end this year, Ryan Izzo. I don't think they've got a lot of depth there at receiver or in their receiving core, including tight ends.
Well, their running backs are catching more balls than the receivers.
Yeah, obviously James White gets a lot.
Yeah, Burkhead, Harris, they all can catch a ball.
But shout out to that Broncos defense. Without Von Miller for the season, they're really stepping up.
Yeah, Bradley Chubb's starting to look more healthy, like he's getting more confident in his knees. So,
and is Melvin Gordon back this week?
I don't know what's happening with Gordon. So he was crook last week. Of course, he had that DUI last week. So whether there may be a suspension pending or not for him, I think that if he's healthy, they'll play him. I don't think the club will impose. They might impose like a 2-week suspension, or they might be waiting for the league to come down and make a decision where he could be facing a couple of weeks. But nothing as of yet.
Philip Lindsay had 101 yards rushing in that game. They
looked good.
They may not need Melvin Gordon back. Can you talk me through Tim Patrick? Had 101 yards receiving.
4 catches.
Haven't heard of this guy.
Oh, he's always been good.
Yeah.
So big guy. I think he's. Cortland Sutton's 6'4". I think he's slightly taller than Sutton, but not as thick, of course. Big receiver, big outside presence. He's always been good. Like he's always been that third receiver kind of guy there. He's been the journeyman for a long time, but he's been in Denver for I think 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
Been there a while. But he's got ability. Like he's got a good catch radius. He makes good catches. Makes good decisions.
Yep.
In a couple games last year, like big catches towards the end of the game, knowing what he needs to do in those situations, how to ice the game properly, not just like getting out when he instead of trying to take it to the house, like working the clock, understanding his situation. So he's
match awareness. Yeah,
very good veteran kind of player as well. But size, leaping ability, good catch radius, makes it difficult for corners. Very competitive on the contested ball as well. So Locke loves to throw deep. I think of the how many passes did he throw in the game? 30 plus, I think.
24 attempts.
24 attempts. I would have said almost 20 of those were pushed downfield. Like he likes.
He only completed 10 passes. So that must have been looking long a fair bit.
Pat Sherman's the offensive coordinator there, and he does like to throw the ball a bit deeper as well. But it helped. It helped Lindsay. Like brought the guys off. If we're constantly throwing deep, then it give Lindsay the opportunity that face like 6 or 7 boxes instead of 8 guys.
Yeah, exactly. They got to drop those 2 safeties, play a bit of respect, play cover 2, play cover 4.
Yep. So no Noah Fant in this. So he'll be. I think he's back next week. So another option. Jerry Jeudy, I think had Gilmore on him this week. So not a great option. Deshaun Hamilton's the other receiver, and he's been very up and down. There was at least another big completion in this he could have made. I don't think he's got a catch this year, or he's got 1 catch or something.
Right.
But he's had like 2 or 3 opportunities where he could have made big catches and has just whiffed on it. So I wonder if his confidence is just so low that he's just not playing well. But Tim's been great as a replacement for Sutton. Similar size, not the best running or contested ball ability to Sutton because Sutton's unreal, but he's been a nice light find there to play in there.
Is Sutton back in the near future?
ACL, so he's done the ACL.
He's gone. Okay. Next game.
Next game. So the postponed toilet bowl. Giants at home beating out Washington.
I think Kyle Allen was good in this game. He had good stats. He was 26 or something of like 30.
I'm going to be completely honest. I've paid zero attention to this game.
I got the box score up. So he was 31 for 42, 280, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Solid. I think that was good from Allen, but yeah, he's still losing the Giants.
Yeah, and can't really blame him with that Washington football team who at the start of the year we were like, maybe they are a little bit better than we thought. I think we're seeing the real.
Yeah. They're in all sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the news for them, it sounds like they may keep the Washington football team for another season. That's a rumour floating around at the moment.
It's really that hard to pick a name?
Or maybe they just like it with the Washington football team.
Maybe.
Have you got, I don't know about you guys, but I've had a few of these conversations.
WFT.
Until they start winning games.
Yeah.
What fucking the?
Yeah.
I've had a few of these conversations with people that I know that don't really follow the NFL, but they're kind of up to speed with the Redskins being problematic. And they're like, oh, what do they call them? And you go, the Washington football team. And they go, no, they didn't. Come on.
What do they actually call it?
Yeah, they've got to have a nickname. Like, isn't that a thing? And you go, no. They are called the Washington football team.
Yeah. It's a very soccer thing, European football.
Yeah, or
dudes.
FC.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's no FTs, but FC is a massive thing. So
they could have done that, but they don't really call teams in the US clubs.
Nah.
That's
Maybe club,
maybe like more like a baseball thing than a football thing.
Yeah. I think it would have had to do something with Dan Snyder being a little bit stubborn because I think 2 years or less than 2 years ago, he's been quoted as saying, I'll change
almost every year for the last decade, I think.
I'll change the name of this team over my dead body. And as far as I'm aware, he's still breathing. So
I think he was looking at it, was like, yeah, you could have a dead body, but you'd be like $1 billion in losses. And he's like, ooh, yeah, maybe I'll change it.
Who was their sponsors? That
FedEx.
FedEx.
There with the field.
And Under Armour? Or Nike?
Nike,
I think
I think it's Nike.
The league, of course.
Yeah.
I think Nike said, yeah, they could wear our gear, but we don't want no tick on it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Swish.
Money talks.
Oh, big time.
Big time.
Moving on from the toilet bowl.
Yeah, next game.
Moving on. So we had Baltimore beating out Philadelphia 30-28.
Philly.
Yeah. As expected, the win, but Philly competed.
Yeah.
Wentz didn't throw an intercept.
No, and he looked pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
Travis Fulgham, breakout.
Another big game.
Breakout wideout for the Eagles. He's had 3 games in a row with a touchdown.
I think 100 in the last 2 as well.
Mm-hmm. You see that big touchdown round from Lamar? He's
so good.
He's so good. He's so good. He's so fast.
I think
he makes fast people look not fast.
Mark Ingram's got a high ankle sprain, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, and
they're saying minor to Miles kind of ankle sprain. So he should still play this week.
I think they've got the bye this week, perhaps, but
you could be right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they have the bye, and they've still got Gus Edwards and
Gus the Bus,
J.K. Dobbins there, so they've got options. I think they'll be right.
It was a classic Baltimore offensive performance. Lamar has 100 rushing.
Yeah.
Has 180 throwing the football.
Nine completions or something?
No receivers have big games. He had 16.
16,
which is big for him. Yet somehow they still managed to win the game. Philly looked pretty good in a losing effort. Miles Sanders had 9 for 118.
Yeah, Miles Sanders, though, is out. He's hurt now.
Yeah, I did see that. I'm not sure on the extent of his injury.
Neither, but I know he's out this week.
And maybe Philly, we'll get to Dallas soon, maybe Philly can win that division. Maybe. I don't think the teams from the toilet bowl will.
No. I don't like the chances of anyone else in that division.
Maybe no one wins that division.
Yeah. We'll take. We want 7 teams. Let's take the 7 highest teams
Maybe,
from
yeah.
that division.
Maybe.
Next
game.
Steelers Browns. Is that what we've got?
Yep, Steelers Browns. So Steelers being
Ano-
Steelers against Browns.
Another club that we asked the question: are they for real with their score?
Seems like it.
Well, Pittsburgh definitely. Browns.
I was talking about Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think Pittsburgh have definitely kind of confirmed their defense is good.
Mm-hmm.
They've got lots of weapons. Claypool has had another good
Yeah,
game.
breakout. Yep.
But Browns.
Phew, they look
I
like,
think they
they
benched.
look like the Cleveland Browns.
I think
Well,
Baker got hurt. I don't know where he got hurt.
I don't know if he got. I think he got benched.
Yeah, so he came into the game hurt. So he had a bad shoulder, I believe.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I don't know if he got hurt in the game last week or he got hurt during the week of training. But he came into the game undercooked, and it looked like he was struggling.
Mm-hmm.
So they benched him, of course.
Mm-hmm. Case Keenum came in, didn't do a whole lot.
Not with the options that they've got there. He could have done a bit better, but case is case at this point.
Yep. So it looks like
Hunt had, I think, a decent game, but overall,
Yeah.
Browns.
Hunt,
I don't know.
Hunt had 13 for 40 on the ground, 2 for 17
No,
receiving.
maybe not.
None of their receivers did much. What's OBJ? I thought he was back a few weeks ago. The last 2 weeks he's had 2 catches.
Let's just say maybe it was because it's Dallas.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
So that's my question. In Cleveland, are they for real? At this stage, I'm going to say, like the Colts, maybe not. I think they might have a good record. Maybe they sneak in the finals. I just don't think they're a real team this year.
I agree with you there, Sean. They're 4-2. However, they're in the same division as Pittsburgh and Baltimore.
And those two will be the top 2.
Shout out to the AFC North. Probably the strongest it's been in a long time.
Definitely.
Cincinnati not looking bad despite winning 1 game. What about Pittsburgh? Big Ben only had to throw for 162 yards. They scored 38 points. They ran the ball really well. 3 rushing touchdowns. Connor had 101 yards on the ground. Juju Smith-Schuster, 2 catches, 6 yards.
It's been very quiet.
Very, very quiet.
Especially the last couple of weeks. Maybe it's just Ben's found a new favourite toy.
Maybe.
And Claypool.
And last year there was a lot of talk. Juju's having a bad year. Big Ben's injured. Mason Rudolph's throwing him the ball. Their other quarterback, whoever he was throwing him the ball.
Maybe Juju's not a 1. Maybe he's meant to be a 2.
Yeah, maybe.
Because as a 1, he's getting the number 1 corner probably on him on every play. And if Claypool's getting open, Big Ben's not a silly man.
No.
He's played a lot of football. He knows, hey, he's open. I'm giving him the ball.
Yeah, Claypool had 74 yards receiving and a rushing touchdown. That's 2 weeks in a row. He's had a really good showing. Obviously getting picked up in a few fantasy leagues, you'd imagine. Maybe he might be one to watch out for in the future.
Definitely.
Maybe.
Next one, James.
Yep. So moving on, we had Chicago beating out Carolina 23-16.
Yeah,
Carolina.
interesting game because I think all picked Carolina for this.
Yeah.
We thought they'd keep rolling.
Yeah.
Bears starting to look at
5-1.
Again, another
Can't
team-
argue with 5-1.
another team that we said, are they for real? And they've beaten some good sides of late. They beat the Colts.
Yeah.
They lost the Colts, but then they beat Tampa, and then they've just beaten the Panthers. So, yeah, Foles, I think, is starting to get better. Their defense is unreal.
Their defense is probably on par with the Steelers in being the best in the NFL.
Yeah. Mac there's amazing.
Foles had 198 yards in the air, 1 touchdown, 1 intercept. David Montgomery actually had 58 yards, probably more than he normally goes for.
What was the score in that game?
23-16.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Chicago, pardon me.
Yeah. I guess if they could shut down Teddy, take his options away, force Mike Davis to carry it, and he's no CMC, so
Yeah.
Got the win.
Davis had 18 carries for 52 yards, averaging 2.9 yards a carry. So that defense is pretty nasty. Over there in Chicago, Teddy Bridgewater had the 2 picks.
That doesn't help.
Carolina's
Teddy can't do that. He's a game manager.
no, and
Can't send the ball
Carolina slipped to 3-3. Also in quite a stacked NFC South with the Tampa Bay Bucks looking really good and New Orleans looking like New Orleans.
Yep.
Be interesting to see if Carolina can push for a playoff spot. Everyone was writing them off at the start of the year. They're sitting there at 3-3.
With it, I think they've done well without CMC to this point.
Is he back soon?
I think he's back training, so he could maybe not this week, maybe next. He's getting close though. So if they can, if they finish 3 and 4, 4 and 4 in that time frame, say they break, they're at par, then maybe leading into the back half of the year, they could sneak a few extra games. You've got CMC back. Yeah, maybe they could possibly sneak a position if one of the other two fall off, but I don't like their chances with those other two in that.
What
division.
about my boy Mike Davis, who's been carrying my fantasy team recently? He's going to obviously play second fiddle to CMC. He's just been playing the same role as CMC, really, a lot at catches out of the backfield. He's done really well, and he might be getting paid towards the end of the year. I'm not sure when he's off contract, but he's looked like an NFL running back.
Yeah, well, he's always good at Seattle, so he's definitely had good games, and he's definitely got ability. Yeah, so maybe he sneaks a higher, more involved number 2 role somewhere else. Or
I'm sure
someone that's lacking in running back stables. So
I'm sure there's a lot of teams that have probably watched his year and thought, well, maybe throw him a few dollars and see if he can do it for us.
Yep,
Definitely.
Toilet bowl number 2.
Toilet bowl number 2. So we had Detroit at Jacksonville, beating Jacksonville 34-16.
2 more toilet bowls upcoming, including this one.
we thought Detroit would win. They won.
They won pretty convincingly.
Jacksonville looked bad.
Yeah, they did.
Let's keep rolling.
Yep.
34-16 in that game. Detroit actually moved to 2-3. You'd think in that NFC North, probably going to struggle to make playoffs.
Yeah. So after that, we had Miami beating New York Jets at home, 24-0.
That's a toilet bowl right there.
Yeah,
Miami 3-3.
they're definitely looking good. How the Jets still have a head coach and they haven't fired him yet, I do not know. They are very much in the driver's seat for the first pick, being the only team that hasn't won a game.
They might be the only 0-6 team.
Yeah, I think they are now. After the Falcons got a win.
Yeah.
The big news for Miami though, Tua took his first snaps, and they're actually sitting Fitzpatrick this week.
You see Fitzpatrick's statement? He's gutted. He's really gutted about this. He's been playing well.
He's had 70% of his passes completed,
He had
1,700 yards.
Yeah, he has 3 touchdowns, 1 pick on the weekend. Really,
2 picks on the weekend.
2 apologies. He really controlled that game. I think this is just a classic example of new toy.
Pretty much.
Yeah, Tua's obviously had an amazing career at Bama.
I think it makes more sense though if they're 1-5 or 2-4, but 3-3, they're still in the hunt.
And the Patriots aren't the same old Patriots.
Buffalo kind of fallen away in the last 2 weeks. Like it's still there for them to maybe snatch it.
It's a long shot, but the Miami Dolphins could win the AFC East.
Maybe that's what they're thinking. They've seen Burrow's been shit hot. They've seen Justin Herbert's been pretty good.
Yeah, maybe get one of these young guys in.
Then it's like, well, we've got Tua. Maybe he's as good as these guys, if not better. Maybe he can put us over the hill, and maybe that's how we catch one. Maybe we become a 10-6 team versus a 6-10 team with Fitzpatrick. There could be that thought, but I would have thought way Fitzpatrick's been playing, he's probably getting the best out of that team at this point. I feel gutted for him, like especially at a team that's not on a losing record. Like Kirk Cousins is still playing, Matty Ryan's still getting a run. They're teams that have got worse records than his does, and they're not even considering this. So
it's
just
unfair.
They've got the option there. So.
It's unfair for the Fitzmagic. I'll miss the memes as well. I think I'm a big fan of the Fitzmagic memes.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. But I'm very excited to see Tua have a crack in the NFL.
Yeah,
definitely.
And coming back from one of the most horrific injuries ever sustained by a quarterback in college system. Does anyone know off the top of their head who they've got this weekend? The Dolphins?
Not off the top of my head.
We'll discuss shortly.
Bye.
So maybe that's might be their thinking.
So
they've
we'll
got
get to it in
2 weeks.
2 weeks to prep.
2 weeks.
I'm pretty sure they got bye this week. The other big story from this, the team that brought us the butt fumble brings us the buttception. Pretty ridiculous play in the end. Like, the safety had, I think, 3 goes at it. Ends up behind his back. He's trying him in his back. then it works down to his butt, and then his either the other corner or the other safety's there and helps hold the ball up against him until it wraps around into his hands, and then they've got it. Like, crazy.
You know what that was? It was one of those old Madden plays where it touches every single person's hand.
The physics just don't make sense.
The physics don't make any sense. There's one player that was 5 yards away, and the next frame he's right there. That's what was happening in that play. But interesting to watch, and the way it was ruled also interesting.
I just think it's funny that both of the big butt plays have come from the Jets. That's hilarious. They are the arse end of the league, so it makes sense.
They are. Butt fumble. Does anyone remember the lineman that he ran? It was Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, Mark
was
Sanchez
the quarterback.
It was either the right guard, I think.
It was definitely the right side.
Yeah.
Was it Brickishaw Ferguson?
Oh, could have been.
Butt fumble.
Big butt.
That's one for all you keen on the Esky listeners. Look up the butt fumble, have a little laugh, reminisce.
Poor Mark Sanchez. He always gets asked about it too. It's hilarious.
The other two games on Sunday?
Yep. Well, going from the arse of the league to the very top, we had Tampa Bay beating out Green Bay at home.
They fucked my fantasy team. They fucked my gambling. Wow, the Battle of the Bays. Tampa Bay looked really good, and
defense was on fire.
Yeah, their defensive play, they're really getting after Tom. Did they take him down 5 times? 5 sacks in that game?
After Aaron.
After Aaron.
4 sacks.
And he threw 2 picks?
Yeah, after commending Rodgers for not throwing any picks throughout the season, two off the day.
Yeah, he had a bad day. He was pressured a lot. They got after him. Sue got in his face a fair bit.
Oh, yeah, and he was talking.
Yeah, good battle there, definitely. You wonder what happened to Pack. Got nothing on the ground going, got nothing through the air going. They really struggled.
And just behind the whole game, really, the Pack were good in the first quarter, and then just nothing after that.
Gronk got a big TD.
Yeah, he did, and had his best game of the year so far. I think he had about 5 for 80 odd.
Yep, he led receiving.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a bit of a bounce back game for the Tampa Bay offense after last week. Falling apart a little bit.
Against a nasty Chicago defense. Are Tampa Bay someone to consider? They moved to 4-2. Obviously,
I think we definitely considered them based on their name recognition that they'd be a playoff team. They're working towards that, so it'd be interesting to see how they keep that going. Their defense really needs to help them out.
Well, they've showed that they can do it, and I think at the start of the year, everyone was talking about, oh wow, Brady and Gronk come across. Already had Evans and Godwin. This is going to be a stellar offense.
Ronald Jones has really come on.
Rojo's really come on. I think he's top 5 in rushing yards in the NFL. But we need to consider this defense. Devin White, Levante David, Shaquille Barrett, Ndamukong Suh.
Their front line and linebackers have always been amazing.
Their front
it's
seven.
Always been the secondary that's
their
been the
front
issue.
seven's really good, but Carlton Davis is their corner. I think he had a pick on the weekend.
Yeah, they've really just taken it to that
They
next
got
level this season.
Antoine Winfield Jr.
Oh, he's good.
Yeah, he's a rookie playing free safety. He's looking good. Maybe we have to consider both sides of the ball over there in Tampa Bay. And what a year for Tampa Bay.
Potentially.
Yeah.
They need to keep it going. I think we still got to look into if anyone's done the 3 out of the 4. But if the Rays win and they win, then a big year for Tampa.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Very ahead of ourselves. We'll see what happens in the World Series. We'll come to that later.
Do you reckon there's a year where...
I think we thought Boston was probably the only one.
Yeah.
Boston,
Sox,
LA
Celtics,
maybe,
and
but
no.
England. Yeah, I don't think...
I'd be surprised if anyone's done 3.
Yeah. Anyway, next game.
Yeah. All right, and then the last game closing out Sunday was San Fran beating out LA Rams at home, 24-16.
Hard to pick Niners games this year.
Jimmy G finally looked healthy.
Yeah.
Got involved. They got Debo Samuel more involved. Kittle had a good game.
Yep.
Still looks unreal.
Yeah.
Their defense played a little bit better. Rams
offense looks a bit poo-poo.
Yeah, they just couldn't get anything going. So Goff really couldn't get anything to
Receivers
Cooper
really got shut down. Daryl Henderson didn't have a bad game on the ground. Cooper Kupp, he had a forgettable game. He probably dropped 2 touchdowns. Might have swung the game in the Rams' favour. Rams still 4-2. This is the best division in football, in my opinion, the NFC West.
I'm not sure if the Rams are for real yet. I was last week. I thought, they're going to be good. I think all of us picked the Rams to win this game.
Yeah, I think we all did. Yep.
But now starting to ask that question: well, are they for real? 49ers, of course, were a Super Bowl team last year, so they've definitely got talent ability.
And decimated.
They've had the most injuries, most guys on reserve, most players used so far this season. Some of those guys, of course, starting to get a little bit healthier. So we'll have to see how they keep going forward. But they win this game. Jimmy G looks good. He might have to carry them a little bit. We'll just have to see how they keep going.
That's it.
2 games of Monday night football or Monday afternoon football.
Yep.
Yeah, so first game we had Kansas City beating out Buffalo at Buffalo.
It's a little bit of an underwhelming game. That it was very. I watched most of this as a very misty / dewy /
classic Buffalo.
Yeah, kind of Buffalo heading into winter. Not quite snowing, but very wet, miserable kind of weather. And it affected both quarterbacks. Mahomes couldn't hit as many targets as he normally would, and it really affected Josh Allen.
Yeah, which is surprising because he played at Wyoming. So he should be kind of used to this.
You'd think so, to the
weather.
Inclement weather.
But it's starting to make Allen look a bit human like the last 2 weeks. He was on that MVP kind of
he's sort of come
trot, but he's come back to earth
a little bit. Yeah.
It's got to be better if they want to win.
Massive game for Clyde's Edwards-Helaire. He had well over 100 yards and looked really good.
So through the week they signed Bell as well. So how do you say his first? Le'Veon. Why did I forget Le'Veon? Le'Veon Bell. They've signed him. He didn't play on the weekend. He thinks training this week, may not play this week as well. But they want to try to work him into it. I think they just want to take some of the wear and tear off CDH is the way they're talking about it.
Yeah, I think so too. There's a lot of people been thinking, does this affect CEH's value? That, it's a big, bold move to go after a big name running back. I tend to disagree. CEH is their man. And then, like you said, Sean, I think Bell will just take the load off him a little bit moving forward. That Monday night game, prime time.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Dallas is in trouble.
They're in big trouble. They are bad.
They're bad.
Yeah. We all picked, I think, Dallas in this game as well. We all said Dallas. Yeah. We thought Andy Dalton would, keep them rolling.
I thought their offense would have been good enough.
Yeah, but through the week, left tackle's injured, right tackle's injured, so they're struggling. Their centre from last year retired, so they've got, I think, Conor McGregor's... Actually, he's guard for them at the moment. They've got someone else playing centre.
Conor McGregor.
Conor McGovern.
Apologies.
Former Denver player, that's how I know. So they... Offensive line maybe not as good as it has been in the last couple of years. Zeke fumbles twice, doesn't help.
Yeah.
He had a big game catching the ball. Dalton went to him a lot, which didn't help. Then Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Gup, they didn't get as many balls as they probably should have. But their defense is woeful.
Oh, aren't they? And I think we were alluding to this last week that they'd given up over 35 points.
They need to score 30 points.
The last 3 weeks, they did it again this week.
Kyler Murray only completed 9 passes. I do know this.
Yeah, how about that? Scoring 38 points with 9 completions.
And do you see Kendall Drake's touchdown to seal the game?
Yeah.
Man, just opened up and he just went straight through, just jaunted all of 60 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not liking Dallas's chances anymore.
Yeah.
I think they might sneak some games, score some points against teams that maybe they've got better matchups offensive wise, and Dalton can maybe spread the ball around a bit more. But yeah, I think Eagles are the best team in that division now.
Yeah, I think so too, from what I've seen in the last few weeks.
Did you hear the stuff that was coming out of the Cowboys locker room?
No, I haven't.
So apparently a lot of the players are starting to arc up and come out publicly saying that they've got no trust in any of the coaching staff.
I actually had heard some of these rumors that the they've been getting stuck in the coaching stuff into Mike McCarthy and his guys that
First year there.
they're useless. They don't know how to coach. They don't know nothing.
Yeah. I think some of the stuff they were saying is they're not working hard enough. They're not prepared. They're not able to like change on the fly.
And they came underprepared to this game.
Yeah, they're just not good at teaching or passing on, I guess, that game management knowledge to the team. So
that's massive because Mike McCarthy obviously had a pretty reasonable career at Green Bay. He won the Super Bowl, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how much of his stuff is guys he's used in the past.
No,
they could be you guys he hasn't worked with, and they might be letting him down.
I wonder if that's a little bit of new guy. We're not used to him, coming into our house, our system.
They're used to Jason Garrett and the way he's done things, and the staff that's probably been there for a very long time.
They're in turmoil.
Well, to that as well. Like they obviously Jason Garrett got pushed out as well. So it seems to be stemming a little bit more that, hang on, let's look at the players, and you might be arcing up at the coaches, but you're the ones on the field. You're the ones that are giving up 30 points a game. Like where is
their offense has
where
been good? Otherwise,
they're
scoring.
They had an off game today, this weekend.
Dalton would have to be learning the offense.
Otherwise, and really, the only reason why they were bad was 2 Zeke fumbles and maybe Gallup touchdown
and led to two touchdowns as well. So that doesn't help.
No.
But look, the Cards look better. Bit of a bounce back for them.
Yeah,
Kyler Murray
improved to 4-2.
Hopkins got a bunch of targets and a bunch of catches, so got more involved in the game.
And leads the league, I believe, in receiving yards.
So better. Their defense is so-so, but they're a decent team. They're middle of the pack. Might sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah, could get 3 in the NFC West. Going through. Well, you could get 4 in the NFC West with the new system.
Yeah,
imagine that. I don't think it'll happen. But all of them are above 500. Is that true? No, the 49ers are 3-3.
Yeah,
but the rest of them are all above 500. So they're all 500 or above. Oh, could you imagine 4 teams? This is the first year that it could happen. You wouldn't think so, but definitely a possibility that 3 from the NFC West go through.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that San Fran is losing that division.
Yeah, how strong they've been the last few years.
Yeah.
Obviously made the Super Bowl last year.
Well, the Rams made the Super Bowl the year before, didn't they? So, that division's definitely produced a lot of contenders in the recent years.
Yeah. Never mind the Seattle Seahawks, who are looking like a pretty reasonable football team.
Yeah. All right, let's run through this week's games. So I think this week is a toilet bowl, isn't it? Thursday toilet bowl.
Yeah, big time toilet bowl tomorrow.
Yeah. So we got
you go.
Yeah, so we got New York at Philadelphia.
Oh man, maybe Philly to take the lead in their division.
Philly for mine.
Yeah. All right, and
Sunday.
just skipping straight over that. So we've got
keep going.
So we've got Detroit at Atlanta.
This could be, I'm going to say take overs in this. I think they'll score some points.
Yeah, I think there'll be some points too. I think the Falcons start looking like not a great team, but I don't think they're a 1-5 team. I didn't think they were an 0-5 team. I'm going the Falcons here.
Falcons?
I'm going to pick the Lions.
Ooh.
I think the Lions have been trending not too bad in recent weeks. I'd be interested. I want them to get Swift more involved in the game.
He looked good last week.
Definitely. And AP's old, but he does what he does, but he's not producing probably the statistics you'd want.
We'll have to revisit this bet on the Esky episode 9.
Definitely.
So I'm going Lions overs. Peps is going
Falcons overs.
Yeah.
I'll go Falcons overs.
There you go.
So after that, probably Toilet Bowl 2.0, Cleveland at Cincinnati.
And this was a good game the first time they played.
Yeah.
It was close.
Yeah.
Close game, yeah.
Browns won that one. I think Bengals win this one because I think Baker's a bit banged up and they're struggling a little bit at quarterback.
I agree. I think watch out for Cincinnati. Cleveland could definitely win this game, but the way the Bengals have been playing really could, I suppose, upset the slight favourites in the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
Watch out for Cincinnati and Joe Burrow in this.
Definitely, yeah. So on Cleveland, Mayfield was benched preemptively to make sure that he his injuries don't get any worse. So it wasn't.
That's what I thought. He came in a bit banged
performance
up.
or anything like that. So
They were losing. He wasn't doing real good. So sit him down and let him heal.
that's it. So after that, we've got Pittsburgh at Tennessee.
Game of the round, perhaps.
Mm.
Two unbeaten teams.
Yep.
Two possibly overlooked teams in the AFC.
I think could be a bit of a preview for finals footy and one of the teams that could actually come out of the AFC and really challenge the other two big ones.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm very keen to see who wins this.
Hard to pick.
Just because I've got a few Tennessee Titans on my fantasy team, I'm going to go. I think I'll pick Titans.
I'll go on the back of the.
I do like Mike Vrabel and what he's done with that team.
Yeah,
Big props there.
Very good.
I'll go on the
offense.
back of Derrick Henry's running game, Tennessee Titans. But who knows?
If they can run on that front seven,
Ooh,
man,
watch
they,
out,
They could run on anyone.
mate! If there's anyone that can do it, it's Derrick Henry.
That is very true. Oh,
Close game though, I reckon.
Yeah,
High
I'd say
scoring
so.
again, I'd say too.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah, I think there could be some points in this. Maybe high 20s to 30s. If the overs is around 50, I'd probably take that.
Monks.
possibly. I mean, I was going to say I'm just going to be different and go Steelers, but
Well, it worked for you in the Melbourne Storm Canberra Raiders tip.
it did. But I think I've also got Steelers as my defense, so I don't want a high-scoring game for fantasy. So moving on, we will have Carolina at New Orleans. So very telling game, I guess, for the division.
Massive.
Is
massive
Mike
game.
Thomas going to finally play a game?
He's listed as playing. Please, Lord, baby Jesus, let Mike Thomas, can't guard Mike. He missed, you know why he missed last week? Because he punched someone.
We talked about it.
Yeah.
Please let him play.
Here's my smoky of the week. He'll get Rona and won't play.
No. Here's my smoky of the week. He has 14 catches for 280 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I think Saints win this one.
I think so too. But
Yep.
watch out for Carolina, who we keep saying they're no good.
Saints are a way better team with Mike Thomas in it. So
Yeah,
that's my thoughts.
Agreed.
I think they'll win.
agreed.
Yep, no, Saints. And then after that, we've got Buffalo at New York Jets.
A former toilet bowl game. However, Buffalo actually seemed legit this year.
They need a bounce back. Allen needs a
They
good
do.
game.
I think
And
they do.
perfect timing to get your Jets on your schedule.
Yeah.
They should smash them.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got Buffalo comfortably.
Yep. So after that, we have Dallas at Washington.
This might be the toilet bowl the way Dallas have been
Oh my
playing.
God.
Yeah. Well, can Washington get a win?
I think Washington win this game.
You reckon? Oh,
I think this could be another 30-30 game.
yeah.
I can see Dallas scoring points.
Mm-hmm.
I can also see Dallas doing stupid shit like they did last week and losing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Washington could score 30 points on them.
Yeah.
I think they definitely could in their defense. They've got some talent on. When I say talent, they've got McLaurin and Gibson. That's about it. Logan Thomas has actually not been too bad for them.
Kyle Allen, watch out for him.
Yeah, he's been solid.
Or
So
is Haskins back? Or are they going Kyle again?
I think they're sticking with Allen for now,
Uh-huh.
from what I've heard.
Yep.
I'll go Cowboys and I'll probably eat shit next week.
Yeah. Either way, it's probably not going to be it's going to be an entertaining game. It's probably not going to be a very clinical game.
No.
Yep. So moving on, we've got Green Bay at Houston.
I say the Packers bounce back. Geez, they look
They looked already.
They need
They
to
look
bounce
very
back.
They need to
vulnerable.
base back.
looked very vulnerable last
Houston-
week. Houston have been poor this year.
They've been better, though, since they've gotten rid of O'Brien. So whether they continue that and they're just letting it fly, they've got nothing to lose at this point. Defensively, I think the Pack can score a lot more points on them than on this defense than, say, Tampa last week.
Yeah.
So maybe another high-scoring game like the Houston-Tennessee game last week. Another 30-30 game, I reckon.
I'm going to go Pack and overs.
I'd pick Pack.
Pack. Yep. And overs.
Yes.
Yep. I agree with that. So after that, we've got probably to rival the Pittsburgh-Tennessee game. We've got Seattle at Arizona.
This is a massive game.
Yeah, huge game.
I think if you
Seattle's wins, though.
Can't go past Seattle.
can't go past the Seahawks, I think if you have a look at the recent history between the Cardinals and the Seahawks, I think the Cardinals have got the Mickey over them a few times. obviously different teams this year.
Buddha Baker has been playing awesome. Had
Hasn't
an
he?
awesome game for them last week. So
He plays like
But-
a hybrid linebacker. When he comes up in that front box, he tackles like a linebacker. He moves like a linebacker.
their defense has been better of late. So hopefully they can continue that. But I just can't go past Dangerous.
Yeah.
And if the rumors are right and they sign AB might be joining that receiving corps. I think it makes more sense for him if he goes to, say, maybe the Patriots where he was.
Yes.
Because they need receivers badly. So I think that might be a better spot for him.
Could you imagine, though, DK, Tyler Lockett, AB?
Yeah. Yep. That'd be an unreal 3 for them. Because I think they've got Paul Richardson is like their 3. They haven't really used a third.
No. And he's not a bad 3 either.
No. But I don't think he'll take away the fantasy value for DK because I think they're different types of players.
Yeah.
I'm more worried if he comes in that side for Tyler Lockett. Because I think he's probably overall a better Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
His abilities, his route running, maybe come out of the slot.
He's sort of the shorter, faster, good route runner kind of guy.
That's if he's still got it. He's been out a year, he's 32.
That's true.
His head needs to get right first.
Yeah, that also.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I'd prefer he went to the Patriots. But
2 more games on Sunday afternoon.
4 more?
keep going. What's the next one?
So next one?
4 in total.
On Sunday afternoon, I'm talking about.
2 on Sunday, 2 on
Right.
Monday.
Gotcha. So we've got Kansas City at Denver.
Kansas City should win this game. Denver's defense has been better. Kansas City they've been good, but they haven't been great.
No, haven't really impressed in the last 2 weeks with a sort of scrappy win at Buffalo and losing to the Raiders.
Is it in Kansas?
No, it's in Denver.
In Denver?
Denver, yeah.
This could be a trap game for Kansas City.
Yeah, it could be.
I could see Denver playing better and causing a few issues and a few turnovers. Chiefs should win.
I think
Maybe it'd be closer than people think.
Yeah, I'm going to tend to agree with you, Sean. I think the Chiefs win this game. I think the unders might be something to look at. I think Denver's
I could see that,
defense and Kansas City not really being the same Chiefs as we've been
They haven't been
accustomed
firing.
to over the last 2 years. I do think Kansas City will outclass them, but I think it'll be closer and lower scoring than expected.
Yep, definitely.
Go Denver.
Definitely. So next up we have San Fran at New England.
This is a big game.
Yeah.
It's 2 teams sort of
Both 3 and 3?
3-3 and 2-3 for the Pats.
Yeah.
Hard to pick. I might go Pats on home field advantage, but
I'm leaning towards healthy Jimmy G. I'm leaning towards the Niners a little bit.
Yeah, because
They need to keep rolling.
Yeah.
after sort of starting the year pretty strong, obviously COVID and injuries have really hurt the Patriots, but yeah, I'm going to stick with the Pats. They need to, as we alluded to before, they need to get more out of their receiving core.
Close game. Unders?
I'd take unders here.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
unders.
Unders. I'll go San Fran.
I'm back in San Fran with you.
Yeah.
Monkey.
I just don't know how Cam will go.
Mm.
It's going to be a hard one for him.
You need some receivers.
He does.
AB, holler at your boy.
So next up we've got Jacksonville at LA Chargers.
Yeah, let's go LA in this one.
Yeah, it's another sort of toilet bowl-ish game. I think LA are better than their win-loss record suggests.
I think Allen will play. Keenan, that is.
Yeah, I think he might be back too.
Okay.
I'll go Chargers.
Chargers.
Yeah, I think Chargers in this one.
Yeah. Quite possibly in another interesting game this week, we've got Tampa Bay at Las Vegas.
This is very interesting.
Yes, I think this is going to be an interesting game. Raiders have had some sneaky wins against Chiefs and Saints. Well, I say
They're-
sneaky, but they're big wins for that.
They've
They're
beaten some
dangerous.
great teams.
Yeah.
They've also
And then they've played some
looked
big games.
kind of ordinary, in other games. From what I saw last week, hard to go past Tampa Bay. Hard to go past them.
Yeah.
Their defense can repeat.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go Tampa Bay.
Yeah. They need to carry the momentum, I
Yeah,
reckon.
they
So
do.
if they want to be a playoff team, they're going to start stringing some wins together. So I'm going Tampa too.
Yeah.
Tampa too.
That's a coverage joke for all our keen NFL listeners.
And then closing out week 7 on Monday Night Footy, we've got Chicago at LA Rams.
Chicago.
Bears unders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think fair.
Yep.
That wraps up the NFL.
That's it. The NFL.
That's it for week 7.
Yeah, week 7 in coming up, not in the books.
We will be in the books.
In the
next
books
week.
in a couple of days. So moving on to the race cars, the Brum Brums.
Which type of Brumos?
The Bathurst 1000, the Australian Brum Brums.
Might grab a beer.
So the last race of the season,
Yep.
the Bathurst 1000, the biggest motorsport event in this country, run between Holden and Ford as the main two manufacturers at the moment. Actually, yes, Holden Ford and Holden Commodores versus Ford Mustangs. It's a pretty interesting race. 5 safety cars, I think, through
Quite eventful.
quite eventful throughout the whole race. 2 safety cars in the last 10 laps. It was very
Yes.
close in the last stint. So I think they fueled with about 23 laps to go, and from that point they did qualifying laps throughout. So very fast, very close race. I think it was only about a second or so separating 1 and 2. Shane Van Gisberg partnered with Garth Tander, won the race. So the Kiwis won. To win the race in a Holden Commodore. So the last race for Holden Commodore and supercars. So so Australian manufactured car in Australia's biggest race, the last time they go out and they win the race. Scotty McLaughlin wins the driving championship overall. I think he finished 5th in this race.
Yep, finished 5th.
So it was quite an interesting race. Whincup and Lowndes were looking good to start with, but Whincup put the car into the wall a couple of laps into his stint after Lowndes had done a good first one. So overall, interesting race, interesting spectacle. I think with Holden finishing up, GM comes into it next year and they'll be running the Camaros. So it'll be Camaros versus
Slightly
Mustangs.
different
Body shape,
body shape. Yep.
So interesting to see how that Ford rivalry goes, because GM technically Holden's grandmaster, but not the Holden brand that Australians know and love. They love the sport, of course, and the Bathurst is one of the biggest races. Is the biggest race in this country, and a lot of people love watching it around the world, especially the Kiwis. So it'll be interesting to see how that Supercars goes next year and how big this race is. Of course, no fans at Bathurst. Select fans around it, not as big numbers, not as big an event.
There was definitely not as many up on the hill.
Yeah, not as many in the stands. I don't think there were any in stands that weren't allowed because of COVID, but overall, interesting race. Interesting to see Holden going to win. Ford was 2, Mostert. So Davis was 2, and Mostert. Chaz Mostert. Chaz Mostert was 3rd in another Holden. So Holden was 1 and 3, Ford with 2. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Long race, 6 hours, I think, of total racing.
Yeah, 6 hours, 10 minutes.
Second fastest race, I think, of all time. First fastest race was 6 hours and 1 minute.
No, I see. Yeah. No, definitely those last 10, 15 laps were very interesting with the supercars coming out. I mean, the safety cars coming out.
Yeah, bunching them back up, having to do restarts, attacking. It was good. It was good close. There's one rain pour throughout the 6 hours, which kind of made it a little bit sketchy for about 30 laps there while the rain then dried up. But overall, it was, like I said, interesting race, interesting motorcar race. I do like it a little bit better, the touring car side of it, than Formula One with there's a you can be more aggressive, a bit more pushing and shoving, a bit more overtakes, going across the mountains crazy. Would be interesting to see a Formula One car go across the mountain though, considering the elevation change and the up and down. But yeah, famous race track.
No, definitely.
And a spectacle and interesting sport to watch.
Yep. Yeah, and then so obviously that wraps up the supercar season for the year, and be very interesting to see how it goes next year with GM coming into the fold for Holden.
Poor Australian manufacturers.
Yep.
Hashtags that.
So moving on, what have we got next?
Major League Baseball. So we're now into the World Series. Game 1 happened yesterday. The Dodgers won that 8-3. And then the Rays, Tampa Bay Rays, won Game 2 at 6-4. Close series, of course, so far. But, they both – I think the Dodgers might have kind of – I don't want to say they snuck in, but they had that big wing in the semis. I think they were behind and down in that series, and they came back and won it.
What seed were they? I think they were. I don't think they were a high seed.
No, I believe that was the case. They weren't that high of a seed. I thought the Rays were a high seed.
Incorrect. They were the number 1 seed.
Okay.
Yeah, Rays number 1.
Eat our words.
You can tell we pay attention.
But the Braves did push them to 7 games, so they won 4-3.
I thought the Braves were in front in that series as well.
Yeah. Before that, the Dodgers had beaten the Padres 3-0, and in the 3-game series in the wild card, they won 2-0 against Milwaukee Brewers. So, really, other than
What seed were the Rays?
they were number 1 as well.
Yeah.
Also,
from their side, yeah.
Yeah, also go push.
2 best clubs. So
Yeah, and you like to see that. The 2 best teams dueling it out. 1-1.
From what I'd seen of the Rays playing, they looked very competitive in their games leading into this. So
Scoring a fair few runs.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good series. Like, so far, they've that's 11 and 10 homers in 2 games. That's pretty good. So
Yeah.
they've been good competitive games, high-ish scoring. So be good to see how that goes in the coming series. Next game being Saturday, I believe, 2 days.
Our time. The EPL?
Yep. So the English Premier League, the round, not the most exciting round in the EPL. Both Man teams, so Man City and Man U, both had a win. Man United, of course, beating Leeds 4-1.
United.
The Wolves got a win, and also Aston Villa, but the rest of the games all ended in a draw. So
Probably the least exciting week so far in the EPL. There's been a lot of goals and a lot of upsets.
Yep.
Beforehand. This week didn't quite deliver. Aston Villa, probably the talking point. They're 4 games undefeated, sitting second in the EPL Premiership table. Leicester City
still won. Yep.
still look good. And the 2 teams expected to go deep this year, Liverpool and Man City, sitting about mid-table.
Liverpool lost as well, I believe, didn't they?
Yeah, I believe so.
Or they draw. I can't remember.
No, they lost last week. I think this week they drew.
Yeah. they
3-3. I think it's 3-3.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
They're currently sitting at 3rd.
Yeah.
Mid-table.
But the big story I wanted to talk about is this other EPL, the European Premier League they're trying to create.
Yeah, what's the go behind this?
So their $85 billion move is what they're talking about. But it's the big clubs trying to create their own league so they can play, of course, more games, more television dollars, of course, which will then make it a little harder for the other smaller teams that get into I think the Champions League is what this would be looking to replacing.
Yeah.
So if it kills the Champions League and then the European Premier League where it's just the big name side, so, Man United, of course.
The way they're playing, probably not United. They might be relegated to England. But
as a big money club, paying their way into it, and they're trying to bring eyeballs. So they're trying to bring the big clubs that have the most supporters, the biggest fan bases, so they can bring as many eyeballs to watch the sport, to create this, if $85 billion league, that's huge.
Yeah.
It's big money.
This would be massive if it happens, because essentially it's saying, fuck the Champions League. Let's just do this every week, have the best teams in Europe. The quality of football you'd think would be unreal.
Yeah, but the only problem when you remove the Champions League, then you don't have as many sides and as many quality spread out. So you're not generating some of that cross-European competition with multiple clubs at the time. So it'll be if they go ahead with it, it'd be interesting to see how it affects football in Europe.
Everything, yeah.
And
Everything
there,
changes.
because it all changes, yeah.
Yeah. And then how do they do it? Is it a buy-in type system? Is it relegation? Do the top 3 teams or do the bottom 3 teams get
how deep
each
your
year?
pockets by the sounds of it at this point?
Yeah. I'd love. Would I? It would be interesting to see each week. Real's playing Bayern, Liverpool's playing PSG, Juventus is playing bloody Manchester City. It's essentially like having Champions League football every week.
Yep.
Does that take away from, the other leagues? Would you watch the EPL if the top 5 teams weren't there? Would you be interested in La Liga?
Or if they play like once a month kind of thing, or they play a couple of games and they disappear for a month so they can play the other league and then come back.
So does it take
scheduling like affects
does it take away from the other leagues? I suppose at the end of the day, whoever's got the most cash is going to win out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
which people got the most cash is those big teams. So they can do what they want by the sounds of it.
I think from the English Premier League's perspective, probably wouldn't take too much away because a lot of those fan bases are very,
very loyal
to their club.
Mm-hmm.
So they would be fine. I think some of the
you probably just lose
leagues that are a little bit more in trouble.
Yeah, you might be losing a little bit of the competition within your league.
Well, even you go to Spain, right?
Yeah.
Spain, I would say, would be in trouble.
Yeah, well, every year, Real's good. Barca's good. Atletico's not bad. Valencia's, how you going? Villarreal's, how you going? Can you name another Spanish club?
No. They're the ones.
It.
They're the big ones.
Yeah, exactly. And in France, it's been dominated by PSG the last 10 years. You take them out.
Mm.
Lyon?
Yeah. Germany as well.
I think Germany might have that middle depth. I think they'd probably be better than Spain or France or Italy in that terms of that middle depth.
I'd be worried for those 3.
Yeah.
Definitely. But, I don't know. Be interesting.
Yeah. One to watch. See what they do.
If you wanted to watch high-quality football, the highest quality football that you could watch each week, every week, this is the move.
Yeah, it makes sense from that point. Maybe they're trying to recapture some of the the World Cup feeling and getting all the best players playing in the same comp all the time.
How many teams would you want in this comp? Could you extend it out to?
Well, how many leagues are there in Europe?
50. There's literally literally 50.
Maybe that's why the
how many
Champions League works so well.
How many of the big leagues are there?
There's 5 big leagues.
Yeah. So if you said 5 big leagues and you took at least 2 teams from each,
there's 10.
There's 10.
But then you could easily have one.
When
When I'm saying 5 big leagues, you've got the EPL, you've got La Liga, Spain. You've got Serie A, which is Italy. You got the Bundesliga, which is Germany, and you got League One, which is France.
Yep.
Outside of that, the Portuguese league is pretty good. That they've won multiple Champions Leagues from FC Porto.
If you're talking money wise, though,
the Russians aren't bad. So say you had those top 5 leagues and you pulled 2 teams, maybe 3 out of each of them, and then you had 1 out of Portugal, 1 out of Russia, and then maybe some sort of qualifying comp out of the rest to try and get those last few teams.
Say 16.
I think you could do 16, 18, 20 teams pretty comfortably.
Yep. With big money involved.
Oh, massive.
Money,
And really good teams playing really good teams each and every week. What does it do for the sport in Europe and the other leagues? I'd be worried.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a bit of a challenge, especially at the moment with international travel. You probably don't want guys gallivanting all over Europe, but
possibly.
But if they're aiming, I don't think they're aiming to do this year. I think they're trying to set it up maybe for next season. But it'd be interesting to see how that goes.
Definitely something to keep an eye on.
All right, to finish up, we're going to talk about the UFC. So we had the UFC on the weekend. The big card fight was Ortega, Brian Ortega versus Korean Zombie. So Ortega coming back from his first since he's lost to Max Holloway, I believe,
yeah.
which was so it's his first fight back. I think
In a while.
a year and a half, maybe.
Yeah, at least that.
So as you skip through that, Jimmy, see if you can find Jimmy Croots fight.
Yeah.
Because we want to talk about that. So, Korean Zombie. So Ortega won the fight by decision. Dominated. Was close first round. He landed a really good spinning back elbow in the second towards the end. On a round that Korean Zombie was probably starting to ascend. And then he controlled and just picked Korean Zombie apart for the last 3 rounds. So Brian Ortega's stand-up looked excellent. That's not usually his strong suit. So he started to, come back and back into that kind of top 4 mold that he's at. I think that one might be the one possibly. Anyway, so he looked really good. Yeah. So he's up there in the top of the division. He could probably give Volkanovski some problems.
Yeah.
Just size-wise, and he's got great takedown defense. He's got really strong jiu-jitsu background. And if he can strike, he's long, that could be a real big challenge for Volkanovski.
Yeah, I only saw the highlights of this, but from what I saw, Ortega looks a lot bigger than Volkanovski in terms of his length. Obviously, Volkanovski quite stocky. And the Korean Zombie, he was there, but Ortega obviously coming out on top via decision. I'd love to say, is this going to be the next fight in that division, Ortega and Volkanovski?
Well, I think it's Volkanovski and Holloway, so they're going to do the rematch. But Ortega could probably get the winner of that.
You'd think so.
Stay there.
You'd think so.
Well, would you see a Holloway or Ortega fight again before Volkanovski?
If Holloway loses.
Well, if he loses, I'd say not. Yeah. I think Ortega gets the win.
Yeah, I agree.
The winner.
I agree.
He deserves it.
Because I think he's 2 or 3 at the moment. He's high in that division. I think they were 2 and 4. I think Zombie was 4. I thought Zombie was really good going into it. I said leading into it, I was back in Zombie. He started well, but then after that spinning back elbow and then towards the end.
Got a little bit too damaged.
Yeah, he got a little too damaged. Really didn't have any options for Ortega. Couldn't really get into his range and land on Ortega at all. So in the end, didn't end up winning. So the co-main was the girls, I believe.
Yes. Was it Cochrane?
No, it was what's her name? Jessica Drons. How do you say it? I said it was not wrong. It's not a Drons. It's anyway, she won. Quick knockout. She went in heavy favourite, I think.
Andrade?
And it's not. I think that he's silent.
Andrade.
I think it was Andrade. Yeah.
Andrade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she won early in the first round. Well, towards the end of the first round. Easy, dominant. I kind of figured she'd win that easily. She's, I think, 1 or 2 in that division ranking wise. She's up there. She, of course, beat Rose for the title, then dropped the title to the Bullet.
Valentina. Yep.
So she's definitely up there, and she outclasses Other Bird. Yep. The fight I want to talk about, though, Jimmy Crute, our boy.
Aussie.
The Aussie. Play that monkey.
Massive knockout in the first round.
He's got some real strong power in his hands. Leading into this fight, he's had a lot of knockouts. He's a up-and-comer in the light heavyweight division. Very strong talent. Got great boxing, great stand-up. He could surprise some guys. I think he's... I don't think he's top 10 yet. I think he's in that 10 to 15 range at the moment.
Oh,
but he needs a higher, bigger fight to come up. Someone with a bit more talent. Test him a little bit. Because he put big. I think it was a big right hook, big right uppercut, followed it up with a left on the ground. It was all over. This guy, who was he fighting? I can't read his name from here.
Bukowskis out of Lithuania.
Yeah, don't don't think he was overly impressive.
No. Well, you get knocked
No.
out in the first round. You don't
Yeah.
generally get the impressive tag.
So light heavyweight, James, if you go up.
There it is. Oof. Oh, yeah. And then very sportsmanlike, sat with him after he
Give him, so there he is.
Send him in
What's
the
that?
next
How far
week.
down is he?
He's ranked 13 at the moment.
13, yeah.
Yep.
I think that's fair. So he probably needs to.
Yeah.
Johnny Walker might be a bit of a test for him. Anthony Smith's coming off a loss, but I think that's probably too high. So maybe he's looking at one of those guys in the middle there. But he
Very
could.
promising.
He could, if he gets a win against them, maybe target someone like Anthony Smith next. Move your way up the division to fight some of the top 4 guys that are in this division at the moment.
Possibly.
But again, big win for the Aussie.
massive knockout power.
Oh, he's got heavy hands. He's got big, heavy hands.
Gets under that, bang, right hook.
Right on the chin.
Yeah, and then follows up straight with the
Oof.
right uppercut, and then finishes him with
yeah.
the left. Just overwhelmed him with power.
Mm. Do you reckon he can compete with someone like Anthony Smith, or even if he gets further up the ladder, like a
The way
Colin
Anthony
Crest?
Smith has been fighting recently, yes. But someone like Santos and Reyes and Teixeira, maybe not yet. He needs to keep improving. But he's got a lot of talent. Okay. So, we can say, baby. Sorry, I interrupted.
Well, I was just going to say that might move us on.
Yeah, so UFC 254 weekend, Sunday for us.
Exciting.
So the 3, well, there's for us. On the undercard is Bam Bam fighting Stefan Struve. I think Bam Bam could take this just because Stefan Struve's got a bit of a weak chin.
yeah.
Obviously, the height advantage for the skyscraper is always something to watch out for. but-
Always going to have the height advantage, but I think Tua could. Not Tua. It's
two of us tied two of us.
tied to Avasa. Can get through his barrage, like can get through his
If he can get under his range,
get through his
he's
range.
very
and
dangerous.
When was the last time Stefan Struve fought? Because I feel like it's been a while.
It's been a while, and Travasa's last fight was, I think, when we went
Was that in Adelaide?
when he lost to Dos Santos. I think
So
that could
a
be his
while.
last one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while for him, so it's been a hot minute. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes coming back. And Stefan Struve, I think's had 1 or 2 fights, but nothing quite recently. Nothing this year, I don't think.
No, he's definitely fallen down the order.
We'll definitely have our
Recent
eye
years.
on that undercard.
Yeah. So in the main card, it's a big main card. I think there's 6 fights listed.
Yeah,
on this.
it's big. It's big.
But the 3 I want to talk about are the top 3. So Volkanov versus Walt Harris. Harris has looked good, and Volkanov is right there as I think he's top 5 at the moment in the heavyweight division. So he's definitely up in the top there. I think he should probably win, but I could see Walt Harris sneaking this.
I'll go Volkov, just based on a record. But you're right, could go either way.
Especially with heavyweights.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it
never
takes
know.
us just that one
Or
punch.
It just takes one. It just takes one. The fight that I'm more
Very
interested in is that middleweight,
Yeah.
the co-main.
It'll be a fun fight.
Our own Robert Whittaker will claim him. He's from New Zealand. We'll claim him.
Fights out of Australia.
Going up against Jared Cannonier. Haven't heard much about the challenges. Cannonier, do you know much?
He's been coming through, so I think Whittaker's 2 at the moment in the division.
Yeah, he'd be up there.
Jared's 5. So, of course, Costa and Romero are in that top 5. Israel's beat them. So Israel, in his last fight, said if Jared wins this, then he will be the next contender.
Yeah, because he's beaten
Everyone else. But if Robert wins this and wins this convincing, maybe they could push for a rematch. There's always the Israel versus John Jones floating around in the background. Whether that happens or not, who knows? Maybe if Whittaker wins this convincing, maybe they'll push Israel into that fight a bit more because he's like, I don't really want to fight Robert again.
I'd like to see it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see Robert take a more considered approach than blitzing in on Israel and see how that goes.
Would you do that, or would you go Robert Costa first, and the winner of that repeat against?
Yeah, it means Israel sits for 6 months.
It does.
Well, if Israel takes the John Jones fight, then yeah, that probably makes more sense. You do Robert against Costa, and then the winner of that gets whoever Israel when he comes back. Yeah, another interesting fight, but of course the big one, the biggest fight probably in the last 6 months, or at least the biggest fight since DC versus Stipe.
Yep.
Khabib, the biggest fight for this year, I'd say.
Probably.
I'd say so. Yeah. Khabib, who arguably could be the best fighter in the world.
28-0.
Yeah, unreal record, smashed a lot of guys. And then you've got Justin Gaethje coming up, who's got a background in wrestling, really converted over, and he's got unreal power and striking. Bit of a bulldog, gets in there and will attack. So it'll be a very interesting fight. I can't see how someone beats Khabib at this point, but man, maybe Justin's the guy that's got problems for him, and he can really push him. It's been a hot minute since Khabib last fought, whereas Justin fought, I think, one of the first fights back from COVID.
Yeah.
It was his Tony Ferguson fight in his.
Yeah, that's
right.
It wasn't that long ago. What, 3 months we talking?
Yeah, it could have been May-ish that happened. But he's been on a tear at the moment, Justin.
Khabib for me. But if anyone can do it, Gaethje.
So there's also a little bit of talk. I don't think there's been anything officially announced or put pen to paper, but they're definitely both training and working towards it. Is the Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier fight? I think it's a perfect fight for both of them.
Yeah,
to come back, they're in the same sort of area in the division, but of course Khabib's getting the questions. Whoever wins that fight, will you versus the winner? And he's come out and said, "I smashed both these blokes."
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was. They were close fights. Like he did finish both of them. I think Dustin did better than McGregor did against Khabib, but yeah, I don't think he's interested in that. I think he's interested in things that'll challenge him. Justin Gaethje, of course, is a good challenge. He, of course, keeps talking about he wants that GSP fight, but I don't think GSP is coming from retirement.
No, I don't think.
And
Why
I
would
don't
you?
think he wants to cut to lightweight either. So I'm not sure what options Khabib's got after this. Tony Ferguson was there, of course, but Gaethje put him to the sword. So Tony's going to have to string a few wins together to even get back in that conversation. But hard to say.
Yeah. Well, I think Khabib's always been of the mindset that he's going to get to 30, and retire. So he might just.
This could be it.
Yeah.
How old is Khabib? Yeah, he'd be
Late 20s,
29.
29 maybe, yeah. Just click. No, you can't. You've gone away from that.
I don't like when you're 28-0 and you just keep beating people. Do you reckon you
Smashing
lose?
them too.
Do you reckon you lose the love for it?
I don't know. Grew up around it. It's passion.
Yeah.
If he's made enough money and he's just like, I just don't want to do it anymore.
That's
then
what I
maybe.
think. Yeah. Say he fights 4 more times and wins, and he's 32-0, and there's no one there that looks like he's going to beat him. So he's 32. He's older than we thought.
Yeah.
I think his problem is there's just no one to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Can you bring up the lightweight rankings, Hunky? You get a chance? Because, like you say, I don't think there's many there. I don't think anyone from featherweight will come up to challenge him. Max Holloway there was talk about that, but he doesn't have the belt anymore, so it's probably no point for him to do it.
I think Khabib kills him.
Yeah, they beat Poirier. Ferguson, of course, lost to Gaethje. He's beat Conor. Dan Hooker might be a shout coming through, but Dustin just beat Dan recently, so
Dan Hooker's got a long way to go.
yeah. Felder's not in that conversation. Neither's Oliveira. Edson Bosa was there, and he's dropped down. He's beaten Al Quinta already. Kevin Lee, I don't think makes it. He lost to Tony as well, so that's why he's down there. I don't think any of it. If Dan Hooker maybe had won against Dustin, then you'd probably maybe he could be something that would intrigue him. But Dan's going to go away and string a few wins together to get back in that conversation. So
Well, that's it. Dan's got to
yeah,
get through the likes of Ferguson, maybe another fight with.
yeah, maybe he has to redo Dustin at some point.
Yeah.
Connor's not going to take a fight with Dan, so that's never happening.
No.
And like Khabib really can't go up to welterweight either. That's I think he's got the size. He probably walks around at 170, 180, but he doesn't have the height. And against Usman,
Nah.
Kobe, Burns, he's going to be competitive, but it's a huge risk for him. And it's whether it's you never know. Maybe that's what motivates him is like.
Yeah,
all right, maybe I'll go
but-
to welterweight. I've seen Conor fight up there. I think actually that Dustin fight versus Conor McGregor versus Dustin. There's talk about it being at welterweight, so they don't have to cut down. But yeah, maybe he takes that super fight with Usman. Maybe.
I'd love to watch it, but I don't think he takes him.
No.
That's about it this week, isn't it?
I did, as we were finishing up there, I was just having a thought. One of the points I wanted to make earlier about the AFL and NRL, and it's funny that it's right here at the end of this. I wanted to see your thoughts because both the teams that had buys in the AFL lost. Both the teams that had buys in the NRL won. So, and we've seen recently in the NFL the teams that had buys came off and had big wins. You set the pack, of course, but those are the teams that were well rested. So I was just thinking maybe it's a product of the sport with AFL being a bit more cardio based.
Yeah, cardio. Yeah.
You need miles in your legs, so you need that consistency. Whereas NRL being more of it's not a complete power game. It's the kind of the combination of
It's not quite on the
endurance.
NFL
But
sort of level of power, but it is probably less cardio based and more about body contact tackling.
Yes, but a lot more body contacts, and bumps and bruises than the AFL. So maybe that week break in the AFL is actually bad for you because you get the miles out of your legs. But the week break for you in the NRL where you can heal up and rest your body from all the bumps and bruises is actually beneficial. So
I
thought it was kind of interesting that it was the exact opposite in both the leagues leading into the grand final.
obviously anecdotal, 2 games to go off, but maybe we can dig a little bit deeper into the stats and have a look over the last few years. But I tend to agree with your theory there, Sean, that, having a week off in a cardio-based game may not be beneficial.
No.
I mean, you do have to look at the teams that they played as well, though.
Yeah.
Richmond and Geelong are
they're
dangerous teams.
Yeah,
any
I
time of the
agree.
year.
I agree. But there is an argument to be made that it's a function. Function of the design of the sport.
Yep.
Well,
on that bombshell, that was my final point for the day. Thank you, boys. Thanks for coming and talking about the AFL and NRL finals. Big games coming up. Big UFC fight on the weekend as well. Oh, the one thing we didn't talk about was the Bledisloe. Let's summarise it.
very briefly.
Wallabies suck. They lost in New Zealand.
4-game series.
It's a 4-game series instead of the 2-game series we thought it was. They were close first half. All Blacks run away with it, 27-7 at Eden Park. They've got to come across here now, and they play, I think, this week.
Yeah,
or they got a week on it. 2 games here in Australia. Australia need to win both, I think, to get the Bledisloe.
Oh, they've got to draw that.
I think they just need to win the one.
But if it's a win and a loss, then
We'll find out next week.
the All Blacks, I think, retain, wouldn't they?
I think you're right. I think Australia has to win
Both.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, because a win and a draw is equal. So they've got to win both to win the Bledisloe.
Dying sport.
Yeah. So, massive crowd, of course, New Zealand. I don't think they're going to get a big crowd here. But I was last spot to finish up with.
Thanks for sticking with us
Thanks
on
for
the
sticking with us.
longest episode thus far.
Big week, of course. Big show, big week.
Yeah.
Get out there, watch your sport. Get around your club. Get around your family.
Get
Sing some piss.
Get around your mates. Have a beer. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. Thanks, boys.
Grand final wrap up.
Yeah. All the news, all the stories out of the grand finals, all the week in sports. See you next week on the Esky.
General shit talk. Bye.
Catch you later.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.